everyone, it's Santana, and you are watching the DL Show on Dave's Guitar Channel.
All righty, welcome everybody to the DL Show. Today we have a special guest, but before we get to that, let me just say hello to Joe. Joe, what's happening? Happy birthday, sir.
Thank you so much, Dave. Hello, Krell Bar.
How's it going, Joe? Dave? Well,
good.
Dave, today we grabbed a couple burgers and
we did.
Oh yeah, how'd we go cheating? How did we cheat this weekend?
We had cheeseburgers with we had a spinach and cheese dip, and we had a pizookie.
What's a pizookie?
It is a chocolate chip cookie cooked in a pizza deep dish with vanilla ice cream and a lot of guilt.
Because honestly, it sounds like a word my mother would have used for ass. Like, get out of here, kid! I'm going to shove that up the pizookie.
That's right.
I
think that's where they got it from. That's where they got it. Anyways, everyone, today we have Tim Kimber with us. Tim, welcome to the show. Tim is a co-founding member of Gold's Gym Enterprises. If you've worked out in a Gold's Gym somewhere in the country at some point in your life, it's because of Tim. And, well, it is really, right? When you think about it. Tim was one of the three. He also is a musician, although he says he's not, but I see some basses behind him, so he's full of shit. And he's a songwriter who, now, let me ask you, I meant to ask you backstage, we were talking. Were you with Ask, did they make you automatically, were you ASCAP, or did you go BMI? Which way did you go with your publishing? Do you publish?
Kevin was BMI, so I went with ASCAP just to compare notes.
Very good. Yeah, I'm an ASCAP guy myself. Excellent.
All
righty. So let's talk. So
Pizookie cap.
Pizookie what?
You said ass cap.
Oh, right. Pizookie cap. Yeah, well, ASCAP stands for the American Society of Composers and Publishers. Producers. No, publishers. Yeah. Oh, no, I know, you know. Anyways, ASCAP's the one that goes knocking on bars' doors that says, are you playing music? You need to pay us.
Per speaker, it used to be.
What's that?
They used to get paid per speaker in the gym.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If we had 10 speakers, I forgot what the rate was, but it was, they charged.
It's all a shakedown. It's a shakedown is what it is.
Oh, yeah.
A complete shakedown.
I thought you were joking.
What?
I thought you were joking until he said that it was per speaker.
Oh, no. ASCAP. When you ever go to a restaurant, it says on the door, it has an ASCAP sticker. That's to let you know that they're paying, when they play music, that they have to pay a royalty to ASCAP, and then ASCAP goes and distributes it. Yeah, sure they do. But they claim to distribute it. I have not looked through their books. I'm not sure what they do with the money, folks. What they tell me in good faith is that it's going to the proper people.
Yeah.
By the way, the president of ASCAP just bought a gorgeous Maserati. No, I'm kidding. Hey, Pam. So it's 1978.
Yes.
In Rochester, New York.
Yes.
and somebody just won a show. What was that show, Tim?
It's called the Mr. Empire State.
Mr. Empire State.
Yeah.
So you won this bodybuilding show,
I won the show. Yep.
and what
And
happens?
there's actually a funny little twist if you want to hear for the show.
Yeah, of course.
About 2 weeks before the show, the local Ramada Inn calls the gym up. I was training at Samson's gym, and the Ramada Inn calls the gym and says, "Hey, can we get some guys to come down and pose on the bar for a little show?" So they asked me and the 2 other guys. I think there was 3 of us that went down, and I won that. And for that, I won a free night at the Ramada Inn. So go back a couple weeks later to the Empire State contest, and the promoter heard that I won a prize at this Ramada Inn and declared me a professional and tried to keep me and keep my trophies from winning the show because he had a friend in the show. And so, but however, that got overturned and I was deemed the winner. So
Very nice.
So that's how that went. Yes.
And so now you said your mentor was a gentleman by the name of Pete Grimkowski.
Correct. Yes.
All right. Now, Pete, when you say your mentor, he trained you for the show, or?
He taught me a lot of things. Yes. He also gave me my first steroid doses. So he monitored that as well.
All right. Excellent.
Yeah.
We're really open talk, folks.
Why not? Life is short.
Excellent. Now, I've only heard the word. I've never seen one before. Steroid,
Really?
you say it's called? No, I'm joking.
Let me go get one now.
Kidding me?
Yeah.
I was 200. I was 195 pounds benching 150-pound dumbbells. I think I knew.
Yeah.
I think I knew what testosterone was at one point. Okay, so now Pete is out there in Los Angeles.
Do you want to hear that?
And
You want to hear how Pete got out there? Because it's a fascinating story.
Yes. Okay, yes.
So Pete and I, he's showing me things, and we're like brothers. I'm like his little brother and stuff. So he, the 2 mafia factions in Rochester, the A team and a B team, are going to war. And Pete had to be friends with both sides. So they told Pete, "You need to get out of town." So he decides to go to Florida, Orlando. Now, Pete had come in second to Mr. America 3 years in a row, 70, 71, 72. So he was big. Pete was big.
Right.
So he decides to go to Florida. So we hop in his, I think it was a 64 Corvette.
Ooh, nice
And
car.
we left on February 9th. Now, y'all know what February is in the wintertime.
Yeah.
We left in the middle of a blizzard. And we're driving this gorgeous car. And we're going through the Pennsylvania mountains. And the brakes break. We have no brakes. Zero. All we can do is downshift. We would actually stick our foot out to stop the car, right?
The
So
Flintstones.
Yeah. So Pete gets kind of despondent and he goes, Timmy, maybe we should just turn around and go back. And I said, well, Pete, if you're willing to drive your car back, let's just drive it forward and keep going. He goes, smart.
Oh my God.
Yes, that's the right idea. I said, well, if you're willing to drive, let's go forward. So we did. We got all the way down to Florida. We couldn't. It was a Sunday. I think that the brakes went out, so we couldn't get them fixed. So we just kept going,
Nice.
downshifting and putting our foot out to slow down. So Pete ends up in Orlando at Orange Avenue Gym. There's a gentleman named Ed Connors out in California who's an architect. Ed decides he was going to take a job interview at Disney World. So he goes down to Orlando for the Disney World and he swings by Orange Avenue Gym to check it out. He sees Pete and he tells Pete, you really should be out at Gold's Gym under the tutelage of Joe Weider, and be amongst other guys like you because you're huge. So Ed goes back home, which is Marina Del Rey is where he was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He sends Pete a one-way air ticket. He says, Pete, you can come live with me. You can take my car, you know, come out and be at Gold's Gym. So Pete did. He stayed with Ed, and time went on. I'm not sure what year it was. Pete won Mr. World in 77, but it had to be in 78 or 77, somewhere in 77. So Ed, Pete's training at Gold's Gym. He befriends Ken Sprague. Ken Sprague's wife is 26 years old, Marion, and she died of cancer. Tragic, sad. Ken's really despondent, and he says he offers the gym to Pete. And he says, "Hey, you want to buy the gym?" So Pete calls me up. And he says, "Timmy, I got a chance to buy Gold's Gym. Do you want to be my partner?" And I went, "Well, yeah, I do." He says, "Okay." And I said, let me see how much money do I need?" And he says, "You need $25,000. The price is $100,000 with some equipment liabilities. So Sprague had taken the money for selling equipment, but he hadn't made the equipment. So Pete was accepting that liability and $100 grand. So I asked my dad, I said, because I was just married, and the week after the contest in 78, I had just gotten married. And so we just bought a house. I had no money, none.
Right.
So I called my dad and I says, "Dad, I need $25,000 to buy Gold's Gym." And he says, "There's no gym worth $100,000. I said, "Okay, well," so he says, "And plus I don't have the money." I said, "Oh, all right." So I called Pete up and says, "Pete, I can't do it. I don't have the money, but can I come work for you?" And he says, because my goal was then Mr. America. I just won a state title. I wanted to be Mr. America.
Right.
So he said, "Absolutely. Come work for me." So he takes Ed and he finds a guy named Denny Doyle. So the three of them bought it on February 28, 1979. My wife and I show up. She's now an ex-wife, by the way.
Right.
We show up at Gold's in May. So just a couple months after maybe it was March. My brain is not functioning all the way. So anyway, so we move in. I start working at the gym. Denny's managing the gym. Ed's an architect. He shows up at night to make the deposits. And Pete's still traveling the world doing exhibitions and seminars as Mr. World. So, and again, I'd mentioned Gold's Gym had its own equipment company. So in the gym were a lot of pieces that, you know, Ken Sprague had made with the Gold's Gym name on it. So one of the pieces, I think it was probably in July, Pete calls me up and he says, "Timmy, do we have a seated blue calf machine in the back?" I said, "Yeah, of course we do." And he says, "Well, go see if it's there." So I go in the back. It's gone. The machine is gone. And he says, "I want a meeting right now with Denny and Ed." I said, "Okay." So I call the guys up and they come in. Well, Pete, traveling around, and because it was, you know, Gold's Gym had a special design, we knew exactly what tubing of steel it was and everything.
Sure.
He saw the calf and the paint. He saw the calf machine up the coast in the gym. So we have the meeting, and I won't say that anybody stole it or sold it out the back door, but Denny decides to sell his shares of stock to Pete and Ed, and subsequently I had money now from selling my house, and Barbara, my wife's mom, she loaned us some money as well. So I now had money to buy stock in the gym.
Right.
And Denny got out. Pete very astutely took half of his shares. So he became major shareholder, 54%. Ed had 27 and I had 18. Barbara and I had 18. So that's how we got in.
Nice.
Yeah. Long story, but it was kind of fun.
Right. And then, and had you already moved the gym at this point, or no?
No, we're still in Santa Monica.
Gotcha.
Robert Blake was our landlord.
Oh, really? Beretta?
Beretta?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're alive?
Yeah. Yeah.
Before he went on his killing spree. Relax.
We never saw him.
Really?
Allegedly.
Yeah.
But you know why? Because you were keeping your eye on the sparrow. Beretta joke.
Yeah.
Keep your eye. All right. So then that was 79. In 80, I think you guys move.
Well, no, not yet.
Really? Not in 80?
Yeah, no. I got remember the Hustler of Muscle Beach movie?
No.
You don't remember that? All right.
Huh.
I got casted in that from the gym too. So, and then in 81, Heart to Heart comes in to film in the gym.
Okay.
Robert Wagner, Stephanie Powers.
Sure. That's Mrs. H. She's gorgeous.
That's good. That's good. And Frank Zane was the bodybuilding star of that episode, called The Solid Gold Murder. I had a small part as well, but they at the time we were getting a lot of calls for casting, for commercials, for women, for men. It was hot, and Gold's Gym was the place they were calling. And when Denny left, I became the manager of the gym. So I'm fielding all these calls, and I'm trying to run the gym. So I'm digressing for another story for Derek. But so Heart to Heart, I just told him, I said, $2,500 for the day, because they wanted to block the whole gym and take it. We had to shut it down. So we're still in Santa Monica.
Yeah.
So they booked 2 days. I think it was $1,250 a day. So it was $2,500 total.
Uh-huh.
Robert Wagner, we get some film in the can, and Wagner hurts his back. They have to stop. They got to pay us, so they have a contract for both days. I think a week went by, and they came back, and I doubled the price. I just said, because we have celebrities, we have professional athletes. For us not to be open was critical for their lives and for their training.
Sure.
So I had to somehow make it worth it to us to hear all the grief we're going to get. So I doubled it. They booked 2 more days, shot some in the can. Wagner's back goes out again. They got to pay us both those days. So now we're at, so now we got to move. We had already taken the space on Hampton.
Right.
And so Heart to Heart loads all the equipment up in their trucks, and they move us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so we get over there. They book 2 days. I told them $12,500 each day. They didn't hesitate. They came right back in with the checks. And I don't know why. Even I knew it wasn't enough. They needed another day.
Right.
They came back to me, and I said, "You guys are killing me. You are killing me." But I knew they couldn't go anywhere else. They were stuck.
Right.
They had film in the can. I said,
Yeah.
25,000. 25,000 for the last day.
Wow.
They walked out, came right back with the check. Again, I'm in the show. I'm
Right.
in the show.
Unbelievable.
I'm friends with Stephanie Powers. We're talking and everything. We ended up getting $65,000 for location fee, and they moved us.
That's incredible.
And to be honest, they probably saved us financially, because we were definitely hurting for making the move and all the construction costs and everything. We were so lucky and blessed at the same time. And Robert Wagner came up to me after the show, and he says, "Tim, I got to tell you, I have never paid so much for a location fee in my life." I said, "Robert, you probably saved us, and I can't thank you enough." So, yeah. So that's how we
And-
moved to February of 81 is when we moved to Hampton.
360 Hampton.
Yep. And then,
Wow.
so ironically, it was a 4 bays. We only took the first bay, but an ad agency was next to us. They left. We took that space. Somebody else was in the third space. They left. We took that space. And then Corey Components was in the last space, and they left. And we ended up with the whole place.
Yeah. Oh, it's huge. It's great.
Again, you know, had we not gotten that building and everything, I mean, we were just so fortunate that
Yeah.
Ed was one that found that building. And because of that, I mean, we were able to grow as big as we
Sure.
were physically. And the parking, we had to grab lots here and there to get the parking.
Now, is that when? So, what point do you guys say we should franchise this business?
That was in 1980, actually.
Okay.
Again, Pete's traveling the world, and
Yeah.
people are saying, "Hey, what's it like at Gold's Gym?" And McDonald's was franchising, and there was
Sure.
franchising going on. So Pete came home one day and says, "Guys, why don't we license our name out to other gyms?" So Ed says, "Great idea. I'll take the first one." So June 16th, 1980, he opened San Francisco
Wow.
as the first Gold's Gym license. And it just,
He owned the Long Beach one too, didn't he?
Oh, Ed was involved in over 26 Gold's Gyms around the country,
Wow.
around the world. Yeah.
Good for Ed. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, because people may not realize the gym was started by Joe Gold, who then sold it to Kenny Sprague, who's the Kenny in your story that sold it to you guys.
There actually was somebody in between. I think it was, Bud Danitz, and I forgot the other guy's name. In between Joe and Ken Sprague. Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Interesting. And now, because people, we're as you can see, Joe is quite the number of Hulk memorabilia behind him. Was Lou Ferrigno working out at the Santa Monica one as well? Was he at Gold's then? I would imagine, because he didn't live far.
Yeah, I met Louis in '79 at Gold's. Yep.
And was he still doing the show at the time?
Yes.
Wow. So you met him before he even had his kids.
Yeah. Yep. I met him before he was married to Carla.
Wow.
Yeah. I forgot what year they got married, but I think they had Shauna in 1980 because Shauna is, I think, 3 days difference in age than my oldest daughter.
Oh,
so
okay.
I think they were 3 days apart. Yeah. So I think Louis went to World Gym and Gold's Gym.
Right.
Because Arnold was over at World Gym primarily back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had his parking spot right out front.
So a lot of guys would go to both places just, to be around Arnold and stuff. And I get it. I'd have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. So then you guys started, and that's the starting of Gold's Gym and the history of the shenanigans. What's the craziest story you can tell us that happened that you can tell us that happened at Gold's Gym Venice?
There's so many. I mean, it was almost daily.
It was. It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious.
I remember one day in 1979, probably the Barbarians, of course, drove their car and parked right in front of the gym. Was a no parking spot, and of course that didn't mean anything to them. That just meant that was their own spot.
Right, that was theirs.
That was theirs. So they parked there, and within a short period of time, this meter maid pulls up with her 3-wheeler.
Oh my God!
It pulls in front of them, and somebody hollered out, "Hey, David, Peter, you're getting a ticket!" So they run out, and while she's in her cart, they pick her up and put it on the sidewalk. The 3-wheeler. She calls the cops. She calls the Santa Monica police. Now, lo and behold, the back seat of their car is loaded with tickets that they never paid. Yeah. So they went off to jail, I think.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me. And then they would, of course, would probably scream how they were victims.
Oh yeah.
If you know them,
Yeah.
that's the classic
Oh,
move
I
of
didn't
theirs.
do anything.
You guys, you always hate us.
Yeah,
You got 400 tickets in your back seat. They hate us.
Yeah.
Oh, classic.
Yeah.
Classic. No, I mean, it's through the years. I mean, the place had, I was there and I started working there in 97. And it was hilarious from the day one when I started working there with Ken Keene, was a legend and is also in the movie Pumping Iron. Or
Well, you worked at the gym?
What's that?
Yeah.
You worked at the gym?
I worked at the Gold's Gym in Venice.
What did you do at the gym?
I sold memberships and managed the gym from 4 at night because the manager was Kenny and Mike.
Yeah.
And they left at 5. So after 5, it basically was like my word. It was, and I had to deal with so many. It was ridiculous. I would play a certain kind of music. I would always play the hard rock stuff at night because there was a lot of powerlifters and they're screaming and they loved it. Yeah. And I get like 1 or 2 guys coming in going, "Can you put on like dance music?" I'm like, "No." Oh, it was like,
how do you lift
holy
dance music?
It was like holy war. I mean, you had to hear what these. I would get called up the next morning. Mike goes, "I just called you up I just want you to hear this message on my voicemail." And it's some guy just berating me, just screaming to Mike about me. That asshole, he doesn't play anybody else's music. I'm like, what do I care? I'm not there to be a DJ. Just put whatever channel. It was cable radio. And then Harry Perry was a regular at the gym who used to drive me nuts because he would come in at 11 o'clock and right at the last second wants to buy all kinds of protein bars. And I'm like, Harry, buy it before you come in from now on. He used to drive me, and I love Harry, but he drove me nuts. And Harry Perry, for people that don't know, is the guy that wears the turban that roller skates on Venice Beach.
Yep.
Who a lot of people don't realize, and I hope Harry's not mad for me giving this away. He's not as crazy as you would think he is. He's actually, you can have him. He's very smart, has conversations, but the second he's on Venice Beach,
and he plays guitar.
He would play guitar, walk, and I was on the beach with a few people, and he's like, blah, 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 just like screaming and doing his thing. And he's going by every person, and when he gets to me, he's like, blah, 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 blah. Can you find me a tremolo arm for a Kaler? I'm like, Harry, call me tomorrow at the shop. Okay. And goes right back into character. And people I was with, I was like, wait a second, he's normal? I'm like, yeah. This is a bit.
The photos of him are trippy. They're hysterical.
Yeah.
Of who, Harry?
Yeah. Well, I did a search for Turban Man on Venice Beach, and it brought me right to him.
Hey, Harry Perry. He's got that Charvel with the bullseye on it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I noticed. And he's on inline skates.
Yeah.
I can barely play sitting on my fat ass. Without it, maybe it's the turban. The turban's got to have some kind of magic power.
Yeah.
James Stewart says, ask him about Schwarzenegger. You've had some dealings with Arnold in the gym, haven't you? He used to come in occasionally.
Well,
not really during the Joe time when Joe was at World.
Yeah. He came in once. He and Maria came in once to congratulate me on my role in the Hustler Muscle Beach. That was really cool. Yeah. And then I think in the later 90s, he came back a little bit. And then, of course, now he's there almost every day, probably.
Right.
I got to ask Tim a question before we
please.
get too far from what he just mentioned. Tim, you have a daughter named Emily?
I do.
Okay. Let me tell you how I know this. I looked up the Hustler of Muscle Beach, and then I went to see, okay, let me see if this thing's on YouTube. And the first result that comes back, the Hustler of Muscle Beach, my dad, Tim Kimber, plays a bodybuilder named Todd Nash in the movie. She's got the whole movie up there. And it looks like some old 70s, 80s, early 80s goodness. Can I put the link in the chat, Dave?
Of course.
This thing looks great. I'm watching this whole thing. It starts off. It was an ABC Friday night movie. So already you know you're in for some goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Let me tell you what happened before they aired that. You know what happened, right?
The Incredible
The Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
You always got to revisit that heartbreak with me.
It is. When we were kids, that was the most devastating news. It's like, right? Because it was either that or this, as we were talking last week about how, like, the president would be talking and all of a sudden they'd go back to, we now go back to the regularly scheduled program. It'll be like epilogue of canon. And you're like, what?
Or the worst was when the writers were on strike.
They're wrapping up canon.
He turns into the Hulk twice. He's going to throw someone through a fucking wall or into 100 boxes. I'll write it. I was 10 years old. Killed me.
He was great.
He turns green here.
Yeah, he turns green.
He was great. And who played
did you know
Patrick McGee?
Jack Colvin.
Jack Colvin.
Jack Colvin.
Don't make me angry, Mr. McGee. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
My father
was that,
always
Tim?
loved that line.
Tim, what were you going to say?
Did you know Manny Perry was Louis' stunt double?
Who was it? Who was it?
Manny Perry. He was
I don't know Manny.
top bodybuilder in the 70s and 80s. He was Louis' stunt double. He'd go through the walls.
Oh, you're kidding. Is he a shorter guy? I think I know who he is. If he's he was tall. No, I'm thinking of somebody else.
You can Google Manny Perry. He's a stunt guy now.
Yeah.
I think he was president of the Stuntmen's Union or something.
He's still making stuff, he's still doing stunts out there.
Yeah.
Manny Perry.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Great guy.
Yeah.
You can tell Manny had bigger triceps than Louis. So when you go back, you can see there's a big tricep going through the wall. That's Manny.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I never knew they had a stunt double for Ferrigno to just go through the wall. It wasn't like you would think they had to hire a guy. Look, we got to get a guy who could really go through a wall. Lou can't do that. Oh, we know this guy named Manny. He can actually go through a fucking wall. Just paint them green. No, like what did Lou say? He's like, no, listen, I'm not going through a fake wall. I got to draw the line. I know at one point they had to put those fake green shoes on his feet, which was always hysterical to watch. But then again, he's running down Times Square in that one episode. I wouldn't do that barefoot. Even as the Hulk, I wouldn't do that barefoot.
Too funny.
Oh, he was still competing at that time too. Maybe he didn't want to sprain an ankle or something.
Well, I don't think they want him to get hurt.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, the different union.
Yeah, different
Right?
time.
Yeah. No, but I mean, isn't it a different union? Like the SAG guys versus the guys that do the stunt work. There's like a.
Oh sure, yeah, it's definitely a different union. Stuntmen's Union, yeah.
Yeah. These guys are. They're like the SAG's like, we're not. No. Put some shoes on this guy. Get a wire on this man.
Yeah.
That's from Midnight Run.
Wow, stunt double for Lou Ferrigno, 81 episodes. God bless him. First movie uncredited stunts was Kentucky Fried Movie.
Was he Big Jim Slade?
That's what I was gonna say. Big Jim Slade.
Classic.
Yeah.
There's not a year here he doesn't have credits for getting some work. Kudos to this.
Let me tell you this: in the '90s, Tim had credits on a Keb Mo record, which I found. Which not only that, I went on YouTube and there's a lot of guys covering the song. Like a lot of people like the song.
What did you play on the record? Bass?
Oh, I didn't play it. I was songwriter.
He was a songwriter on the record. It was Keb Mo. And what was the name of the song again?
Victims of Comfort.
Victims of Comfort. And I went and looked it up, and I was like, because here's what's funny. So I worked for Tim, and at Gold's we always had parties, and I'd see you all the time. But it was like I didn't know anything about you. You didn't know anything about me. No. Everyone's, and it's so funny because when I started my band in LA, The Big Angry, and somebody was asking me like, what are you doing this week? And I'm like, I got a gig at the Whiskey. They were like, you play music? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I'm a guitar player. You're kidding me. I didn't know you played. And I'm like, it's kind of why I moved to LA. I'm like, that's why I moved here. I'm like, I play music. I do session. I did it. So I used to, when I first started working at Gold's, the Barbarian Brothers were working on this project called The Silly Sores. Do you remember that? The puppets.
Yeah.
And so they had me come in and write all these songs for them and produce. And that's how I met Michael and Danny Cimbello.
Oh.
And from that, I met Lee Carrieri, which you know Lee.
I know the name.
He was Bruno in Fame. He was a staple in the gym, always there. Lee started hiring me on like every film thing that he was doing. It was great. And I got more work that way. But it was all started when the Barbarians wanted me to do these things with the puppets. And I worked with, I don't know if you knew Damon Elliott. Did you know Damon?
No.
He's Dionne Warwick's son.
No. I
Yeah,
probably
all
met him.
through- Yeah, all through the Barbarians and Michael. And then there was a kid named Paul Sabu, I think his name was. Did you know Paul?
No.
He was friendly with the Barbarians as well.
All right, I gotta ask a question.
Yeah.
You all keep mentioning the Barbarian Brothers, but you didn't explain to anyone watching who they are and how they get the name.
Well, I know how they got the name.
Oh,
Do you know how they got the name?
I don't. Tell us.
It was they got the name from Joel Schumacher named them the Barbarian Brothers.
were they actors?
They were in the movie DC Cab, and they were in the movie
Think big.
the Flamingo Kid. And
Yeah,
then
they
they
were.
got all these Disney movies where they did Think Big, Double Trouble, Twin Sitters.
Yeah.
But they were originally the twins. Don't pee in the pool, Jeffrey.
Oh my God, those guys!
Yes.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Oh, hilarious.
Okay,
The headbands gave it away.
everybody.
So what
knows
happened
who
was
they
they were on the set, and you have to understand these guys are very uncivilized as well as being very civilized. They're very funny, but they're insane. And you know what it is? They are giant children, is what they are. They are
Yeah.
full-grown children. And Joel Schumacher one day was like, "You guys are barbarians. You're the Barbarian Brothers," and the name stuck, and they loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. They would shower with their clothes and boots on. So that was their way of doing laundry as well.
Oh my God.
They were kids. They were absolutely insane.
They invited us over to their apartment. We go over to the apartment. They have painted the whole inside black. Everything. Light bulbs, windows, floors, ceilings, walls, black. Everything was black.
Light bulbs.
They really,
I
I mean,
Yeah,
The
I just
stories you
posted
can-
an article in the chat that's hysterical. I just found two of the most colorful characters ever to stomp through Gold's Gym are the Barbarians, Peter and David
Yeah.
Paul. I don't know what book that's from, but I got to read that.
oh, these guys are hilarious. Hilarious. And strong as all hell.
Oh, incredible.
Strong as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just
Never
funny.
competed in a bodybuilding contest.
Yeah. But huge. And then one year they snapped. They were like, we don't want to be big anymore. We want to be lean and just muscular and lean. And like David one year went from like 275 to like 210 pounds, but still shredded. I'm like, what the hell is going on? It was unbelievable. They would come and do cardio like 4 times a day.
Yeah.
It was right around the time he was going through that. You remember his ex-wife, Rhonda,
Yeah.
the blonde? It was, and she would come in and do cardio
She
at
wore
night.
the
and he would-
American flag around her. Was that her?
Yes, exactly. I had a good
Yeah.
memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very patriotic.
But the two brothers were hilarious. I used to, when Peter used to come in the gym, he wore like, this is in 1997. Peter's wearing a crop top terry cloth workout shirt. And who the hell's wearing terry cloth in 97? So I would get on the mic every night and be like, Peter, Paul, please report to the locker room. Somebody forgot their towel. And he would just say like, man, you always love busting my balls. I'm like, what? No, someone needs your towel up there. He's like, he would just laugh. One of the funniest things ever was my buddy Mike walked up to me at the gym and said, hey guys, I wanted to be you for Halloween, but the guy at the store said you still have a costume out. They looked at him and I'm like, oh, they're going to kill him. And they just started laughing. David's like, that's actually very funny. I was like, I'm like, whatever mood you caught them in, they didn't want to chase you down and kill you. I was surprised. But there was also like, I mean, you dealt with at Gold's, there was a lot of musicians that worked out there. I mean, you've seen them over the years.
Yeah,
and
Jeff Lorber was in all the time.
Yep, Jeff Lorber.
Yeah.
And the brilliant Mark Spiewak used to come in sometimes. I got him to come in.
David Lee Roth.
Yes.
David was in. Katie Lang came in a couple of times, I think.
Oh, yeah. Well, when I think after you sold, Britney Spears used to come in a lot, and Gwen Stefani would work out there.
Janet Jackson.
Yeah.
Brooke Shields. She hasn't.
Yeah, but then all the wrestlers were there. If you were into wrestling.
Yeah.
That was like, Terry Bollea would come in every now and then.
You
probably have a history. What's that?
I tell you, brother.
Yeah.
From Cole and I were out training there. Anaconda's out back, and you're getting huge.
Now, he must have been one of the guys at Gold's in Santa Monica.
I remember Terry at Hampton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think the wrestlers started coming on Hampton. I could be wrong with that, but yeah.
Yeah, Terry, Hulk Hogan, and then you had
Triple
Steve
H.
Austin, Triple H, China was there for a while.
China, yep.
And
a
John
lot of those
Cena.
guys trained by Walter Kowalski.
Yeah.
He was
they all trained on the East Coast.
A few times up here. My ex's best friends were wrestlers. Mad Dog Richard and his wife Laura. They worked with Walter Kowalski. I went to backyard cookouts, met with them, and first time it's like, wait a second, you're Killer Kowalski. He says, call me Walt. He wanted me at the time. I was probably like 28 years old and stuff. He had talked to Richard, my girlfriend's friend there, husband, and asked him about, hey, does he want to wrestle? He says, hey, I could probably get a spot for him. No, hey, my bones are creaking at that point already.
So when I was in high school, I had, I believe, the red book, the Gold's Gym bodybuilding book.
The encyclopedia?
Encyclopedia.
Yep.
Now, how much of that is your involvement in that? Like, what did you guys get involved with doing?
Editing.
So someone compiled it, and then you guys went in and said, well, this should be like this, and this, is that more like how?
Yeah.
Now, wait, what was it, though? Was it like a book with photos or illustrations on different exercises to do?
Oh, yeah. It was not illustrations, it were photos, I believe.
Yeah. It was training. It was a training, encyclopedia of training.
Damn.
Yeah. I think Bill Dobbins wrote that, and we edited it.
Oh, really? Bill?
I think it was Bill. It was either Bill Reynolds or Bill Dobbins.
I think it was Reynolds.
They wrote some of the books. Yeah.
I think it was Reynolds, because I would have known Dobbins, because I knew Bill Dobbins in the gym.
Yeah.
That's a photographer, Bill Dobbins, too, right? He was a photographer, too?
Yeah. But he actually wrote the first books for Ken Sprague. Dobbins did.
Oh, he did? God, crazy.
I might.
Yeah, you aren't familiar with that, Joe?
I think I had it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was the red. It was like the red paperback, but it was like full 8 by 8. Yeah. They had several. There was a blue one. I mean, a red one. I think there was a yellow one, which was they all were different, but the red was the encyclopedia.
Yeah.
What was the yellow one? The yellow was
for leg days.
Yeah. That was the Tom Platts book. Now, Tom used to come in the gym there, Tom and Bobby.
Yeah, here I can't find the book. But here's the Hulkster and Pete.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Wow, he was that much taller than Pete?
Oh, yeah. He was 5'10".
What's that?
Yeah. This was 1993.
Wow.
94. Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, there was a lot of the stuff that I learned from the Gold's Gym book when I went to work out at Gold's. There was like other people that I learned a lot of stuff from. There it is.
There we go.
Boom. That's it.
Oh yeah, I had that. I think we all had to have that. It was like a
Absolutely
required.
I have it somewhere still.
Required.
Yeah. Bill Reynolds is the writer. Yeah.
Yeah, Bill Reynolds.
Yeah.
Or you could just purchase the last 10 years of Flex magazine. Every issue is how to get bigger arms. It's like, didn't you have that last month? Oh, there's the other book.
Irv Gelb wrote this one.
Oh, you're kidding. Irv did?
Yeah. See his name?
Yeah. I love Irv.
Yeah.
These are all the photographers that used to hang out at Gold's Gym. Irving Gelb.
Now, how old were you, Dave, when you started working at Gold's?
Here's Louis.
29. Oh, look, there's Lou. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what made you think? What made you think? Oh, yeah, let me apply here.
I didn't. I was already working out. I was already in really great shape. I was running a cafe in Venice called Cafe Venice, and we used to do. We had a bodybuilding menu, and I worked out at Gold's, and I became very good friends with Mike and Kenny, who managed it.
Yeah.
And when I was getting ready towards the end of my run there, Mike said, "You really should consider come working for me. I think you would do really well at the gym. You know everybody there, and you have a personality that can sell." I'm like, "Giddy up, let's go." So I did.
All right, but don't go any further. What's a bodybuilding menu? Like, how many raw eggs would you like in that glass, sir? 8 or 9?
Oh no, it was basically like let's say you wanted like a bodybuilder breakfast. So you'd get like 5 egg whites, a chicken breast, and then pancakes. That was on, yeah.
Carbs and protein.
Yeah, I mean,
And what did that cost? Because that's a big plate coming out.
Back then, it was probably, you'd be surprised, it was probably like $9. Wasn't much. Today, it would probably be. I don't know what they're charging at the firehouse these days, but I'm sure Laco's increased those prices pretty high.
She's still there. I saw her in August.
Yeah, she owns it. That's her place. Yeah. And it's her ex-husband across the street, isn't it? It's the Rose Cafe.
Oh, is it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
It's like they're like the two. You ever see the movie Lucky Number 11?
Yeah.
No.
When they have the two mob bosses on the towers across the street from each other, you have the Jewish mob and the black mob. You never seen Lucky? I recommend to everybody see the movie Lucky Number 11. It's absolutely fantastic. Josh Hartnett, Ben Kingsley, Morgan Freeman, and what's his name from Die Hard? Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a really good movie. But going back to who works out there. I mean, Mike used to train The Rock.
Yeah.
So The Rock used to train over at Gold's. He trained a couple of bigger names too.
Oh, it was endless. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. I met Muhammad
Magic.
Ali once. Magic's every day. Yeah. Chamberlain.
Magic. Kobe.
Yeah.
Kobe used to come in.
Kobe was there. Yeah.
Yeah, they were all.
I walked up Kobe one day. He's sitting on the bench. He's just doing air shots. I said, "Did you make it?" He goes, "Yeah, man." Yeah. Yeah. He was cool.
Yeah.
They were all cool.
Really were. Cool. They really were, unless they weren't, and which instantly they didn't belong.
And they didn't stay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because like Jimmy Kahn was like the nicest guy in the gym. Always like, this is what hard for people to understand. You could be working out. A couple of weeks later, you reach a new weight and you're going, oh man, I'm so pumped. And James Caan will walk over to you and go, hey, that's great. That's a big difference from last week. Good work. And you'd be like, what? This guy's paying attention to, he always cared about everything. Like if he sees you around, he knew you. And like, he was great. He was great. He was great. And in that gym, there was a lot, some characters like that always, there was some that make me laugh to this day. I always, when I worked at the gym, I told Mike, do you remember Mike Riley, who worked the front desk? I said to Riley, we should write a script where we get Jack Lemmon to play Dudley Cowan.
Dudley Cowan. Oh, my God.
And you just walk around going, you look great. Great to see you. You looking like you're training hard.
Jeez, I forgot about Dudley.
Oh, well, there was one day, Gunther Schlier camps in the back of the gym, and I've told this story on here before, and Dudley walks in, and I say, hey, Dudley, and I turn this way, and I go, Mike, Dudley's here, because Mike loved saying hi to Dudley. He goes, 1 second, and then he turns around and goes, where? And I go, he's right all the way to the back. I literally couldn't sprint there that fast. I don't know how the hell, but Gunther had his shirt off, and he's just sitting there going like, I was like, that's a world record right there. If we can get this on film somehow, I want it. Like if you go to try to watch the tape, it would like you wouldn't see it. It would just be like it would get static for a second, and then all of a sudden Dudley would be over there, like it wouldn't film.
Was he putting on the oil? Was he putting on the oil on Gunther?
Irving Gelb was taking pictures of him, and it was Gunther and Irv, and literally like it was like a 5 second. It was unbelievable because. Mike was like, there's no way he was right. I'm like, Mike, I just said hello to him right there. I don't know what the hell's going on. It was like a Twilight Zone episode. I love Dudley, though.
Oh, my gosh.
But I always thought Jack Lemmon could have played him.
Yeah, that'd have been a good one.
Yeah, right? You look like you're training hard. Oh, the characters in that place were just... So now, you were... Right, you were working on songs. We were talking about this earlier. You had a song that Mike Christian used to pose to.
Yeah, Let's Flex.
And Mike Christian, for those that didn't know, was a bodybuilder, great guy. I think it was was it Crazy Wear? What was his company?
Platinum.
Platinum Wear. Sorry, Crazy Wear was
Gary Stridham.
Gary, you're absolutely right. Exactly. Yeah. Yes, Platinum. I love Platinum.
Yeah.
It was great stuff. Anyway, so he used to pose to this stuff, and you worked with Michael Sembello on this.
That was Think Big.
Oh, Think Big. Wasn't that the song for Mike Christian?
No, it was called Let's Flex.
Oh, Let's Flex. Okay, so then you did it
every day. I'm going to be the best. That's what I say. It was actually a little bit of a rap.
Right. And then he would pose to that.
Yeah.
And then
Andy Olson was doing the Mr. Olympia videos, and he would open with Let's Flex on the video.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so now how did that get into you meeting Keb Mo?
Well, I had written the song Let's Flex, and I played it for a friend of mine, Chuck Trammell, and Chuck loved it. And he said, you need a chorus. He goes, we need to introduce you to Kevin Moore, my buddy Kevin.
Right.
And so he brought Kevin in to meet me. And Kevin, said, let's work on this. Let's make this right. So we did. And it ended up being the song. We went into the studio and we recorded it. Kevin got to all the musicians and everything.
Which studio? Do you know which studio it was that you recorded it at?
Score One.
Okay, I don't know it.
Well, how I remember that, I don't know, but I did Score One.
Huh.
Skip Saylor. I even remember the guy's name. Wow.
Impressive.
Anyway, yeah. So we recorded that, and that was the start of Kevin and I's friendship and musical history.
Right.
Yeah.
Now Kevin Moore is Keb Mo.
Yeah, he's now Keb Mo with
right.
6
now, was
Grammys.
that how did that? Do you know how that nickname came about? Is that like
somebody? And I think it was a female friend of his would just say it so fast. Keb Mo, Keb Mo. And he came out Keb Mo.
That's hilarious.
And that stuck. Yeah. It's a great name. He's such a cool guy, a great artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Kevin Roosevelt Moore, Kebmo.
Yeah. Yep.
That's funny. So wow. So then you got a song on his first. That's his first album, right? That the song is on.
Sony,
Now, have you worked with
signed
other?
him- Sony signed him in '94, and the song is on the first album, number 4. My
Wow.
lucky number.
And like I said, there's people all over YouTube that cover it on acoustic, which I think to me that would be like the coolest thing to see people who are moved by it so much that they learned it and perform it. And I think
I gotta
so.
check that out because I've never checked that out.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And then have you written anything since then that's been published or that was just the one time?
You know, I write all the time.
Yeah.
And my friends and my family hear it, but I don't. I just signed up for a songwriting class with Teddy Pender, Teddy Pender from that TV show. It was on after The Voice. You know, you play your songs, and Adele would come in and pick a song.
I didn't know that show.
So I just signed up for that class. It starts in January, but I just love to write, and I love people. I love bringing out emotions in people, and I wrote a song early on called "Compassionate Man," and I played it for this woman who I'd never met before, but she was with another friend of mine in a parking lot, and she cried. And
wow!
I said, "That's what
she
I
was
want."
like, "Get this guy away from me!"
Yeah.
No, I was kidding. That's what they do to me when I play them songs. They always cry. They're like, "Why is he still singing?"
Yeah,
I'm like, "I'm sorry." Let me ask you this: your favorite song today? It's a hard question. It's really impossible. But like a song you go back and you go, I wish I wrote that fucking song. Every time you hear it, it's a hard. What would it be for you?
Well, I've been listening to Celine Dion a lot. And Courage is a song that I love the song.
I can't say I know it.
I don't know it either.
It's one of her newer ones. It was after, Renee died.
But I'm saying, like, if there's a song that, like, when you hear it, you're like, every time you've heard it from the time you were a kid, you were like, this song I wish I wrote. Like, that's something.
I love Man in the Mirror, Michael Jackson.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, Ange. Man in the Mirror. Okay.
I actually got to talk to Saida Garrett one day on the phone, and I just said, I just love that song.
Did she write it?
Yeah.
Oh, and royalties.
Did she also? Didn't she also?
Happy birthday.
Did she also sing for the Brand New Heavies for a short time? Am I on the right person here?
Saida Garrett? I don't know.
Someone look that up for me. I think she replaced India Davenport in the Brand New Heavies. By the way, the Brand New Heavies album, Brother
What was
Sister,
the name?
is a must-own with India Davenport. Saida Garrett.
I think it's Siedah, Saida.
Yep.
I'm not sure.
What does it say?
Okay. Contestant on
look-
Pastor Plus 1980.
Deborah Christine Saida Garrett is an American singer and songwriter who has written songs and performed backing vocals for memory recording artists in music industry such as Michael Jackson, Pointer Sisters, Brand New Heavies. Yeah.
All right, there we go.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at that.
Yeah. I'm a big Brand New Heavies fan. But I really like the India Davenport stuff, but I believe that was the name of the girl that replaced her.
Huh.
Are you familiar with the Brand New Heavies?
No.
Do you like soul music at all? Like funk music?
Yeah, I like it.
Brother Sister was a record. Really, you don't say it convincingly. So, like, let me ask you this: like Teddy Pendergrass, were you a big Teddy Pendergrass fan or no?
Sure.
What was it? What moves you? What is the stuff like Tim? I'm saying
Coldplay.
right now.
I love Coldplay.
No.
Yeah.
Do they get any whiter than this guy? What is going on here? Coldplay came out. All right, it's 1979. You're getting ready for a show.
Yeah.
You got to get pumped up. Yes, Ange, I'll be there tomorrow at your house. Yes. You're getting ready for a show. What are you putting on in that? What's going on in those headphones and that Walkman you had before the right when the Walkman was just coming out?
I never listen to music in headphones in the gym.
What are you putting on because you're managing the gym? What are you putting on the speakers so people can listen? And you're like, and they're going, Tim, come on, put on something good.
It's
are you
Raining
listening to
Men.
Right? What are we listening to?
Technical Ecstasy.
Right. Are we listening to Black Sabbath? Are you a Rolling Stones guy, a Beatles guy?
Queen.
Oh.
Right. That's
there you
all
go.
right.
There
we go.
All right.
And I found that Freddie Mercury, pictures of him wearing Gold's Gym tank tops.
Oh yeah, back in the 80s, right? Early 80s, I think he was wearing.
Why didn't I know that back then? I would have found him and got him a bunch of stuff.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Who didn't have a Gold's
amazing.
Gym t-shirt? It was like
Queen was
that
fantastic.
was like the hot thing for the stars.
What do you think Queen's best song is, guys?
Ooh. Now you're talking to a fan here, so I've got quite a few. Well, we agree It's Late is a great song.
Oh, I love that song.
Ooh, geez. Well, your favorite album there, Sheer Heart Attack. I mean, Flick of the Wrist is a great song.
I don't think the best song is on that album. I don't think the best song is on that album.
No, I'm not saying bad.
I mean, if somebody wants to say Someone to Love, I would be okay with that because I think that is such a legendary song.
Say You're My Best Friend.
Fat Bottom Girls.
Fat Bottom Girls.
Dead
on Time.
Yeah, that's all on the jazz album. See, at least you're pulling out 1979.
I think you could be safe saying Bohemian Rhapsody too.
Yes.
Right? That's kind of like
these days. I'm kind of sick of it now.
Yeah, you can't argue with it. That's for sure, Joe. I agree with that. Personally, I think it would either be It's Late or I love some of the more obscure stuff like Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy off of
Ooh, Lover Boy.
Yeah, I love that. And there was also on that record, there's another song I like.
Millionaire Waltz.
Bring on the charge of a love brigade. Yeah, that's
Millionaire Waltz.
That's a great tune. Yeah, no, that would be
my
great
personal
baseline
favorites is Spread Your Wings.
He was the best.
John Deacon song.
Love that song.
Yeah.
That was unusual.
What a great album closer that song was on my favorite album with the giant robot.
All right, Tim, I got to ask you.
That wasn't the closer.
Your favorite movie of all time. If you say something with Celine Dion, that's it. We up.
I can't. Dirty Dancing.
No. What's your favorite movie? Your go-to movie?
Like you're waiting for him to say Pumping Iron, but he's going to throw a curve.
No, I don't want to hear Pumping Iron. I want to hear his favorite movie. I'm sure he's got you've got some in the wheelhouse.
Well, Pumping Iron, but the one released by Vivid.
He's trying to think which movie by the Barbarian Brothers he liked the best.
What's my favorite movie? Yeah. Tombstone. Yeah.
Oh,
awesome movie.
That's a good one.
I'll be a Huckleberry. Oh, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies. Yeah. When I say favorite movie, I mean this movie comes on TV. No matter what you're doing, you're like, I'll watch it. I'll stop what I'm doing and watch this.
I still remember my girlfriend got that movie on rental, and I'm not a big fan of Westerns. And when I saw the cast on it, and I saw, well, Kurt Russell's cool, and I saw Val Kilmer and Michael Biehn, and I go, oh, this is just a pretty boy, young guns type thing. Watched the movie. Afterwards, I turned to her, I said, that was a pretty damn good movie. I loved it.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Now you're like, now let's watch that Pretty Boy Young Guns movie.
Yeah.
I like the Young Guns movies.
I want to see Emilio.
Val Kilmer gave a
Doc Holliday,
acting job he did.
Yeah, that may be his best role.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Other than Real Genius and Top Secret.
Both good
I'm
roles,
joking.
but both good roles.
I love Real Genius.
It's awesome.
Wasn't that the one in the end that whole house blows up because of
popcorn?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. And
William
there's a guy that
Atherton's
literally
awesome.
lives. He walks through the wall and he lives like in a sub. I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, what was his name? He's in Napoleon Dynamite too. What's his name?
Oh, John Grease.
Is it John Grease that plays Laszlo in that movie?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It is John Grease because because ever since that movie, every time I saw John Grease, I go, "Hey, that's the guy from Real Genius."
Yeah, Uncle Rico. Yeah, he's great. It's a great movie.
You surprised I pulled that name out of my ass?
Which one? John Grease?
John Grease.
I said it.
I said it too.
I was gonna say it wasn't out of your ass unless you're calling me your ass.
Well, unless we got a human centipede thing going on here. I went through you first and came out my ass.
Oh my God. I've never seen that movie and I never will.
Well, you got to watch it once. If you watch it more than once, you're deranged.
No, all you have to watch is the South Park episode about it. That's all you need to see. You don't have to watch the movie. What was the horror we talked about? Oh, Event Horizon. That's a great. Have you seen Event Horizon, Tim?
You know, I think I was in the gym a lot because I didn't hear any of these movies that you just mentioned.
Oh, really? Oh, these, you know why? Because these were like coming of age movies in the 80s, and you were already married and having kids.
I was in the gym. Yeah.
And we were like, and you know, when Real Genius came out, it's like I was in high school, you know, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I think that there was I don't know if there was any 70s versions of it. Like if what would have been the equivalent, Little Darlings, maybe. What year? I don't know. What year did you graduate high school? Do you want to say
71.
that? Well, you graduated in 71.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
The big question: a fistful of dollars or a few dollars more?
Clint Eastwood, right?
Yeah.
Wrong. The answer is hang 'em high.
Uh-oh.
Or
Brian's saying that you said it first. I thought I said John Grease.
No, I heard Crowbar say it first too.
Oh, okay. Maybe he did.
So how'd you get the name Crowbar?
Jim, he's asking you how you got the Crowbar. He's asking you how you got the name Crowbar.
Okay, here's the real quick answer. Some 30 years ago, whatever. Got stoned with some buddies. I not personally got stoned a lot, but it's like I got stoned with some buddies, and
all right,
we were just passing around this thing and just drawing things in the book, and just then it just looked like something. And my friend says, "Oh, it's evil," and I just said, "Hey, well, we gotta name it," and it just popped on top of my head. It's Krellbar, you know, and just stuck. I ended up with that name. Then, I mean, what happened is it kind of died on the vine. And then I joined a fantasy football league, and to name my team, called it Team Krellbar, basically. Oh. So now it's just Krellbar.
And he revived it.
So, and I'm known as Krellbar.
All right.
So, and now, Tim, what do you got what do you got in the works these days? You taking a songwriting course?
Yeah.
What else you do? I see you have a fretless bass behind you and a bass.
Yeah. I play the bass. I wanted to learn it, so I got it. But I use the keyboard right here.
Oh, nice. Oh, I didn't see you had a keyboard there.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it or not.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, here we go.
I have a Motif ES8.
Nice.
You got a Line 6 Spider.
What do you got up there?
He's got a Line 6 Spider.
Oh, Neumann.
Yeah.
Oh, just a Neumann U87. That's all.
U87. Yep.
Yeah, just an 87, just the industry standard.
Yeah.
It's a great mic.
Yeah.
But I love how he keeps the blanket on it like it's a parrot, you know, like a bird cage. He don't want to wake the mic up, so he covers it.
I keep the dust off of it that way.
Yeah,
all right.
Exactly.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
So he's thinking practical. I'm thinking ridiculous all the time.
Yeah, no, those are great mics, the U87.
Yeah.
I like the U87. I also like the TLM3 for voice, but it's a great mic. It's a standard. That mic, I mean, you can record. You doing home recordings with it at all? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for you. Yeah, that's great.
I had a U47 for a while.
The tube version.
That was amazing too. I didn't hear a big difference. I mean, this is what, 1800.
They're way more. The 47's way more delicate though.
Yeah,
Than the Fed.
$10,000 for that puppy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have it long.
Yeah, they're just. I did it. Did you know? You probably didn't know the Demirs, Jimmy Demirs or Donnie Demirs. They were friends of.
I knew Pete Demirs.
No, so Jimmy had a record, and he asked me to play on it.
Oh wait,
so it was on
the Barbarians.
Yes,
I did know him.
Yes, okay. Yes. And he says, so he was like, "Can I play on this record on Concord?" It was on Concord label. I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." So I had to go down to this studio. It was in like the back of some guy's house on a cliff in the Hollywood Hills.
Yeah.
And so I brought like 2 guitars. I had a Taylor 710 and I had a Taylor 414. And I think I even had my Epiphone with me, but I don't know. I think I had it with me. Anyways, I'm playing the Taylor 710, and in this room, it sounded magnificent. And the engineer's talking to me through the headphones with the producer, and they're like, "That thing sounds terrible." And I'm like, "Really?" Because in here it sounds great. So the engineer comes out again. He goes back in. They're like, "No, it doesn't sound good." So I'm like, "Well, what's in this case over here that says Telefunken 251?" Obviously, I know it's a Telefunken 251, but that's a $25,000 microphone. Oh. Guy's like, "It's a Telefunken 251. I said, "Then why are we using that than this shit mic here?" Because whatever mic it was like a no-name mic. So now he's yelling at the engineer. The engineer comes out, swaps out the mics, takes 10 minutes. I strum the chord, and the producer's like, "Oh, that sounds fantastic." I was like, "Yeah, I thought so." I was like, this day couldn't get any fucking longer.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I was sitting there for like an hour. Couldn't even play because they were playing with the mics and everything else. But it was like, but yeah.
Wow.
That's a beautiful mic, the Telefunken 2.
Mic.
Yeah, a vintage 251. Yeah.
Wow.
Beautiful. But that Neumann, the 87s are nice. The 67s and the 47s are nice. I mean, like I said, they're fragile. The tube mic version. I also like a lot of ribbon mics. I like the old
oh my God.
RCAs. What's up?
I just looked up the Telefunken 251. It's $11,000.
Yeah. Yeah. If you get like a new one, if you buy a vintage one, they can even go way up high.
You got to be fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The Telefunken 251. There was years ago, there was a guy that used to make, well, there was a couple of guys that used to make clone microphones, and they were making them just as good, if not better than the originals. And they were underselling them, and they were selling them cheap, and none of them was selling. So they all bumped up their prices, and then they started selling through the roof. It's like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
There was a guy, Palooza, that made a 251 clone, and he was selling it for like $600. He couldn't give them away. Same microphone, he doubled the price, and all of a sudden he was on a 5-year waiting list. It's like, you got to be kidding me.
Wow.
Two of them, the funniest things with this Telefunken here is, one, it's temporarily out of stock. So apparently there's been a Christmas rush on the Telefunken 251.
Exactly.
The other thing is, it comes in a tweed briefcase that has a locking code on each side. Like you couldn't get through that with a butter knife in 2 seconds. That's a 5-year-old with a plastic butter knife can get this fucking thing open in 10 seconds.
What's he gonna do? Sing into it? What was the microphone that look up the Telefunken is it a U47 or a U87? What's the one that Zappa sings about? It looks just like a Telefunken U47. I think it's a U47.
Yeah, I saw it's a U47. Let's see how much that cost.
That was the mics they used to record orchestras with. They were the long mics.
A Matt stereo set is $17,990.
Yeah,
so that's for a double.
Yeah,
so that's $89.95 otherwise.
Well, the U47 new is only $9,000. So
right, yeah, it's a cheaper mic.
It does come with the lock-in briefcase, though.
Oh, it does. Yeah. See, those Germans really want you to make sure you have security with your microphones.
For that price,
nobody gets into the
you
case.
You steal the case. Yeah, I got locked in the case to prevent from theft.
But I'm expecting, like, if you're selling me that, I want it to also come with like the 1 foot wrist lock You know, like you handcuff yourself to the case and
Right.
then the case to you.
Like
Because
the
that's the
handcuffs
only way
here.
I'm buying anything $11,000 handcuffed to me. The way that Art Carney is handcuffed to Jackie Gleason in that train episode, it never leaves me. Boom,
Well,
bullshit.
when you go to record at a recording studio, like there's Conway, and you have what's the other, the Village.
I've been to the
And-
Village. Yeah.
Right. You know Jeff, don't you, over at the Village, Jeff Greenberg?
I think I met him.
So, so the Village and Buddy owns Conway. These places, people are like, oh, you don't have to go to a recording studio. Really, when you go into the recording studio, I mean, a lot of it is they have some really fantastic mics.
Yeah.
And if you have an engineer that's an early to rise, he'll get to the studio nice and early for you to sign out the good mics. That's what you want to do, because somebody's going to sign them out, and you want to make sure you have the mic list that you want. But yeah, when you go to a studio, they usually give you a list of the equipment they have, and that's because some of the stuff you need to sign out. Like if you're in Studio B, then you got to sit there and be like, well, I want the U47, I want this, I want that, and you can sign out mics, and then you bring your own as well. But that's usually the cool thing about using a studio is they have Telefunken 251s or U47s to record orchestras.
But you know what? Now I'm looking at Tim, and I could tell Tim's thinking, why didn't we think about that with Gold's Gym back in the day? Now I want this. What do you want to work out with? I want that bench. I want those dumbbells. No, he's got them today. Ferrigno's got them. You can't use that. Oh. How long does he have them for? Why? Well, he's the Hulk. Oh, fuck. But
you have to understand,
Gold is the Hulk on tonight after the show?
I believe. Let me see. Let me see if there's any news from the.
The Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
Yeah,
you might as well always follow that with Florida.
Well, let's see what Esther Roll has to say about the Hulk not being on.
The opening of my vlog tonight.
Yeah,
I do Florida, so you're going to appreciate.
Oh, you do?
I was thinking about you when I did it.
All right, let's see what happens. Let's see what Esther Roll thinks about the Hulk not being on. She is not pleased. We have problems here, Tim, as you can see. So what people don't realize, Tim, is at Gold's Gym in Venice, and I don't know what year, maybe you can tell me, the gym became like the premier gym for gym owners to come out to visit, to see with equipment, because you had everything from Flex, Icarian, the old Nautilus in the second room.
Yeah, still there.
Cybex. I'm trying to think of what other companies you had. Hammer Strength.
Yep.
So they had like all the different lines. So you go to a gym, it's usually they got one or two lines of equipment. This gym had every line, which was great.
We worked with all these companies, so all our franchisees would come into town and they'd see it. And the theory was, hey, if this stuff lasts in Gold's Gym Venice and is popular by the members of Gold's Gym Venice, because if the guys didn't like something, we brought something in, the guys didn't like it, or the girls, we took it out, it's gone.
Yeah.
These companies,
first it would go out back.
These companies gave us all this equipment, gave it to us as their showroom to our franchisees. We had over $1 million in equipment that we never paid for.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Yeah.
When did all that come in? Because it that
was
some
actually
of the
Rich
stuff.
Minzer. Rich Minzer put all that together. Remember Rich?
Did Rich? Oh, do I remember? I see Rich every day on Instagram and Facebook. He's still the man in black.
Yeah, still. Yeah, that was Rich's program. He put all that together with the equipment.
He was worth his weight in gold.
Yeah.
Good for Rich. Yeah, no, I love Rich. He's funny.
Oh, yeah.
He was also like the connection guy to all the wrestlers. He was friendly with all the wrestlers.
Still is, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I could still see it in my mind when you walk in. There was the Cybex to the left. You had, I can't remember what the brand of was it Flex? What was the yellow equipment? You had everything was color.
That was
Flex. Okay. Yeah. And then you had the white egg carry-in and hammer strength. And
Yeah.
there was something in the second room. I can't remember what was in the second room, but because you had the Nautilus stuff, the old, old.
Icarian for a while.
Yeah.
Um,
And then you also had 2 dumbbell walls, right? Because you had the wall in the first room, and then in the third room where the cardio was, there was the dumbbell wall. So yeah, it was a ton of equipment. It was great. It's a great gym. It's definitely like the gym to visit if you want to see, the classic Gold's Gym.
Yeah.
And not too many. I was going to say over the years, I can't say there were too many fights out of that gym. Not too many. I mean, there's some classic historic ones, but where people were banned.
There was a few. One guy took a 45-pound plate and threw it in the guy's face and broke his nose.
Damn. Well, that's rude.
The Barbarians and Lyle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Them chasing them around.
There really was never any breakout swinging punch fighting.
No. I've seen a couple of altercations, but nothing that ever escalated.
When they threw that 45-pound plate, was it you said dumbbell or was it a plate?
A plate.
A plate?
Yeah.
Did they throw like a frisbee?
I think it was like that.
Oh, it did like that. Okay.
Discus.
Yeah. I don't think it was a disc.
Oh man, if that would have connected, the guy probably would have been brained.
That would, yeah.
Yeah, but also, who the hell can throw a 45-pound plate?
I'm sure there's someone that could.
The Barbarians could have. Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, Peter's still around. Like I said, I think he's down in like Dominican Republic or something. But yeah, it was a shame about Dave. That bummed me out. And but yeah, there's a lot of great stories there, and just too funny. Like I said, the last time I saw you in person, we were getting pizza at Joe's, which isn't bad pizza, by the way. It was pretty good for Santa Monica. That Joe's on
Wildflower.
Oh yeah, Wildflower. He was a Boston guy.
Yeah.
He was from Boston.
Yep.
Yeah.
At least you're going to bring up the food when I still got 36 minutes to grab something to eat.
You know it. And then Bravo Pizzeria was I don't know if you know Kathy and Pete. Pete was her ex-husband, but they owned that place. But Joe's I thought was decent. I think the best place in Santa Monica was La Vecchia. It's an Italian restaurant that was on Main Street.
Huh.
But if you order their pizza, their cheese pizza without basil, it tastes like Papagino's back in the 80s. It was really good. Papagino's was a Massachusetts place. But yeah, we went to Joe's. It was me, you, Jeff Lorber, Spiewak. There might, it might have been one other person. It might have been Derek. It's very possible.
Probably was Derek.
Yeah, I'm thinking there might have been 5 of us. But we were all eating outside out in front of Joe's. Like I said, it was those were the good old days.
Oh, we had a ton of fun, didn't we?
Yeah. I mean,
no 2 days were ever alike. It was just so much fun. I was telling somebody the other day, I was there all day. I didn't want to go home. It was like, I didn't want to miss anything. It was like, wow, you didn't know who was going to walk in.
Yeah, there was characters and
yeah.
God, I remember. Did they have like the Sultan of Brunei's wife, or I don't know, that used to work out there, and she had like her own entourage? I remember something about that because there was one of these trainers, and he was like, "Yeah, they got me on retainer for like," I was like, crazy money. I was like, "Are you kidding?" It was just hilarious what goes on in that gym.
Remember Frankie Crocker?
No.
He was the original VH1 disc jockey, I think.
Okay, I didn't know him.
Great guy. Yeah, he passed.
Oh wow, I remember him.
Who was the Frankie? What was Frankie's name? Is it Cassavetes?
Yeah, Frankie Cassavetes. Yeah, Nick's brother. Yep.
Yeah, he was a nice guy.
Great guy. Yeah, he's still there.
Is he really?
Yeah, he works with TR, I think.
Wow, Frankie.
Great guy. Great guy. Yep.
So he was John Cassavetes' son?
I'm not sure about that one. Yeah, probably.
Well, Nick Cassavetes was John's son, wasn't he?
Yep. I believe so.
Yeah.
Is John Cassavetes? Am I thinking of John Cassavetes the right guy? The guy who was
Rosemary's Baby.
He played a killer on Columbo.
No, his greatest
everything's
role.
related to
His
Columbo.
greatest role. He played 11. The Dirty
What's that?
Dozen. 11.
Dirty Dozen. Yep.
Oh, really?
That was the
But
first
am I thinking of the right guy?
man.
Was he on Columbo? He was the piano player that kills the girl.
He probably was. Or are
sure
you
he
thinking
was.
of?
Because he was great friends with Peter Falk.
Right? Did they do the movie? Did they do a movie
Falk
called
was
Husbands?
They did some kind of movie where they're at a craps table in one scene.
And Ben Gazzara is friends with them too, right? Yes. Okay. So I know who Cassavetes
They were a
is.
crew.
That's right.
Yeah.
They did a movie called Husbands in 1971, and I'm pretty sure John Cassavetes plays the piano player at the Hollywood Bowl that kills the girl he's having an affair with. Everything always. Gina Rowland's husband was John Cassavetes.
Yep.
Because Gina Rowland's also in an episode of Columbo. I only know
Everyone's
anything
in
that has to
Columbo.
do with Columbo.
That's
She
when
was
I bring
also
up
in
the
The
fact
Notebook.
that
He was
even
in-
Jamie Lee Curtis was in Columbo.
He was in the episode Etude in Black.
Bingo.
In
That's the
Columbo.
episode.
Yeah.
He's the piano player at the Hollywood Bowl. And
Oh.
and is Nick his kid or his brother?
I think it's his kid.
I think
You
it's his
can't-
kid.
Yeah, he's
So
too
then,
young.
so then Nick and Frank
Our
are his
brother.
kids, and they're brothers. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Really? Because for children, I'm only seeing 3 listed. Nick,
What are you seeing?
Alexandra and Zoe.
Yeah.
Is there a Nick Cassavetes Sr.? Hold on. Let me go to John Cassavetes.
I'm gonna look it up. Yeah,
John
Nick
Cassavetes.
Cassavetes, actor Face Off. Nick Cassavetes,
children,
born
Nick.
in New York City, son of
Yeah.
actress Gina Rowlands and Greek American actor, film
Oh,
director.
so it says
Nick,
Nick.
Alexandra, and Zoe.
And so how is Frank related? Is Frank John's brother? This guy's born in 29. Hold on, let me see. Frank Cassavetes, actor.
Him, I'm looking. Wait, where we go? Right here. He was born into independent film royalty as the son of Oscar-nominated writer, director, actor John Cassavetes
Yeah.
and Oscar-nominated actress Gina Rowlands.
Who is?
It says, no, that's Nick.
That's Nick.
That's Nick. They threw me off.
Yeah, I don't see anything on Frank. Yeah, IMDb.
Yeah, I don't think they're related. I think it's just the same name.
I don't think so.
No, they're not related.
I can't imagine. How old is Nick? I mean, Frank.
Frank is older than
Gotta be
Nick.
60s at least, right?
Oh, I'd say he's got to be 70 at least. I would think Frank was 60 back in the day.
He's so full of life.
Oh, great guy.
Yeah.
He
Great guy.
is,
I love Frank. Frankie did that. He had that picture in the uniform that David Paul took of him.
Oh, yeah?
You ever see that picture? David took some great. We're talking about the Barbarians being knuckleheads, but David Paul took some unbelievable photos.
Yeah.
He had that picture out in the desert with, I think it was Ronnie Coleman, and he did some pictures with Gunter and Lee Priest.
Yeah.
And
I remember Priscilla
Yeah.
Presley wanted to hire him to do stuff.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Did she talk to him? Because he probably would have talked her out of it.
Well, he didn't do it, so I think he did. But
Yeah, of course. Yeah. She's like, here's what I want you to do. No, I'm going to do it my way. Yeah. You're going to. Well, you know, that was the thing with. So Peter had the silly saws, and it was this puppets. And
Yeah.
Disney was like really interested, and Disney came in and they were like, we'd like to take this over. And he's like, nah, you know what? I think I want to run it. You guys buy. And they're like, yeah, we're going to see you later.
Yeah.
We're not going to, we've had enough of this conversation.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I think I'd like to run the company in my terry cloth crop top. Yeah. They're like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
We'd like to put $1 billion into this. Great. I'd like to stay in charge. Yeah, that's not going to happen. We're going to let you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
We got to say bye-bye.
Yeah. And they did. And that's, I think, when he went crazy. Like shortly after that, I'm getting emails that he's the light in the.
Yeah, the light. Peter Pelpin.
The truth, the light. And it wasn't good from there.
Yep.
So now you've been where you are. How long now outside of LA?
Well, we went to Evergreen, Colorado for 2 years. Went to Omaha, Nebraska for 1.5 years, and then we've been here for 6 years.
You went to Omaha, Nebraska?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
How come?
My wife had family there. Her mom and sister were there.
Yeah, that's out in the cornfields.
Yeah,
you got what? You got Lincoln, Nebraska on one side of you, with Davenport, Iowa on the other.
Yeah.
But Johnny Kramer's got a question for you, Dave, and for you, Tim. He wants to know: did you guys ever meet Franco Columbo?
Yes,
I could tell you, Tim did.
He's in the Hustler Muscle Beach.
Johnny, he's in the Hustler and Muscle Beach that I linked earlier. Scroll up.
Yeah, I mean, anyone that's in bodybuilding, I guarantee Tim's met him.
Actually, Franco was my chiropractor when I first moved out to LA.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah.
Did he tell you how to carry a refrigerator?
Yeah.
I still remember
I
when that
was just
happened. I was
about to
watching
bring
that
that
on
up.
Wide World of Sports.
I was watching that on Saturday afternoon, and his leg bent sideways. I remember them talking to him afterwards, and he goes, "Well, I know bones and stuff. It's not that. It won't be that bad. It's And I was like, "Oh."
You could just look at when it happened and know it was bad.
Yeah.
My brother and I always used to watch those strongman competitions.
Oh yeah, me and my father were watching that on a Saturday when that happened.
Yeah, my father.
I remember after I was in the gym for a while, and someone's like, "Hey, you know Tom McGee?" I'm like, "Yeah, the trainer, the surfer dude." They're like, "He used to be huge and was in the strongman competitions." I'm like, "No, he wasn't." They're like, "Yes, he was." I'm like, "That guy?" It's unbelievable, and he's like the nicest guy. And then I went back and watched. He was huge.
I think he's climbed all the 14 mountains. He's a mountain climber too.
Yeah, it's crazy. But like he just decided he wanted to get lean, and he's like he's like a lean beach dude. And he was huge back in the day lifting that stuff. My favorite back in those days, and I don't know if you ever met him, my favorite was always Bill Kazmaier.
Yeah, well, everyone loved him.
Yeah,
he was
I think I met him once.
And let me tell you, you went out to LA a little late, Tim, because you missed. You should have been there at the Battle of the Network Stars up in Pepperdine.
Oh.
Young Scott Baio. When they had, what was her name? Linda Carter is now getting into the pool. Cosell really legitimizing the athleticism of Gabe Kaplan or Telly Savalas smoking a cigarette.
Could run though. That was the whole thing. He turned Robert Conrad in a friggin' foot race.
Yeah, well, yeah. Conrad does the 40 in 10 minutes. I don't know if that's athletic to beat him.
Well, he was better than Robert Conrad, and that probably hurt his ego.
Bob Black Sheep, right?
Yeah.
Wild Wild West.
Yep.
And just to point out, Conrad's best role was when he owned the gym and murdered a guy on Columbo.
Oh my God.
See how things go full circle.
His
here?
best work was the commercial for the batteries. Where you put it on the show.
Yeah.
Terrible. I also want to commend Johnny Kramer in the chat for bringing up. He said if you guys ever met Franco Columbo, but thank you for bringing up Columbo. Thank you.
Oh my God. But the
There's
best
not
ever
much
was
on TV these days. It's
when-
do
when-
you have Amazon Prime, Tim?
Love Yellowstone.
Oh, but you can go in there and watch all the old Columbos, which is what I do at night. I just have my TV running and it just puts me to sleep.
Is he on Netflix?
Just one more thing.
No, on Netflix, all I watch is Seinfeld.
Ah,
I'm waiting for Better Call Saul to finish up.
oh, love that too.
Oh, it's fantastic. I love Bob Odenkirk. It's such a great show.
He's good.
Oh yeah.
It's such a
Eh,
so
you know. Oh, okay.
go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to chime in that, I never watched Breaking Bad. David and I talked about this before. The only episode I ever saw was the worst one with the fly.
Yeah, I think it's the
Basically,
worst.
I happen to watch. But I caught some bits of Better Call Saul. And from what I see, it seems like a better show. I mean, like I've seen clips of it where he's negotiating the house with the meth lab was in, where Jesse had the meth lab. Well, anyways.
Yeah.
I don't remember the show, but yeah, it was a great show. I remember loving it.
Oh, it's a fantastic show. Johnny Kramer wants to know, Tim, was Tom Platt's legs really that big and defined?
Oh my God. He had the most incredible legs I have ever seen. His hamstrings, he would bend over and touch his toes, and his hamstrings were just striated and just cables. You've seen him, right, Dave?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And Bobby, I used to see Bobby way more than him, but he would come in because I think he was working out at World Gym for a while. And then he would
back and forth.
He would walk over and then meet Bobby and do some sets at Gold's, and then they would leave.
Yeah, Tom's legs. He was one of the first pros I met when I walked in the gym. And super, super nice guy. I mean, just how can I help him? What do you need? Can I show you anything? But his legs, his quads were just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, they nicknamed them Quadzilla. They better be unbelievable.
That was Paul DeMeo.
Oh, yeah. Quadzilla was Paul DeMeo.
No, well, according to Wikipedia, then someone better fix this Wikipedia article. Thomas Stephen Platz is an American retired professional bodybuilder. He was known for his leg development, which in his prime measured over 30 inches. I got something else 30 inches, but it ain't Quadzilla. Earning him the nickname the Quadzilla. You got to fix this, Dave.
Yeah, that's not right. Quadzilla was Paul.
Paul DeMeo. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a Boston guy.
But did not compare to Tom's legs for sure.
No.
Tom should be Quadzilla, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Paul, and I think Tom also was like, wasn't he like the king of like doing like 1 million sets?
Yeah.
Reps. He was totally,
he would
heavy
just
reps.
burn it out.
Yeah.
You remember the old leg extension in the second room?
I do. The blue one.
Yeah. When that worked as a leg extension, I think Tom was just, I could just see him sitting there and just working it all out, and he'd get down, moving it just a little bit, just flushing.
That's one of my favorite leg extensions because it doesn't really rely on a cam so much. It's just smooth the whole way.
Yep.
Which I like that way. All these cams I cannot stand because it puts a funky. It's like, it hits right in the spot where I don't want it to. I'm like, If it was smooth going up, it feel more natural. I always love that second room for those. There's two of them, right? They're right by the mirror when you first walk into the second room. The one you lay down on.
Yeah.
Oh, they did?
I think so.
How dare they?
I think so. Well, now it's got all Gym 80 stuff in there. Now they've got a lot of their own equipment in there.
There was a lot of really impressive guys back in the day, Johnny Kramer. I mean, one of my favorites was always Sean Ray.
Yo, yeah.
Yeah. I liked Sean. And like all those guys.
Flex Wheeler.
Flex was amazing.
Wow. He was amazing too. Yeah.
Yeah. And Ronnie Coleman, when Ronnie used to compete, when those guys were competing, that was like 97 when those guys were competing. And then Ronnie just like put on all kinds of mass. Just got crazy. And then there was Kevin Levrone. All those guys back then. when I was working at Gold's, Dorian Yates came in. And I said to Dorian, did anyone ever tell you you look like Roger Daltrey?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, because of my long hair. I said, no, it's not because of your hair. It's because of your face. And Mike Ryan just started laughing. And he's like, that guy is going to kill you. It's like, what is he mad? He goes, you had to see his. Mike was just laughing hysterically about it. I'm like, what? He's like, oh, not. I was being serious. The guy looked like him in the face. He looked just like Roger Daltrey.
I agree.
As you started the story, I had just gotten to a photo of Sean Ray standing next to Dorian Yates. And as you're saying his face, I'm looking at his face. He looks exactly like Roger Daltrey.
That's what I said to him. He looked just like him.
He does look like Roger Daltrey.
But he was trying to tell me, because he used to have the hair that came down. He's like, oh, when I had the long hair. I said, it's not your hair, it's your face. And he was just like,
I'm posting
and then stormed off.
Everybody, look at this photo. Tell me it don't look like Roger Daltrey in the face.
Yeah, he's and you know,
it looks like Roger Daltrey got stung by a hornet or something and got all blown up.
Let me see
in that photo. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Oh my God! Look at Sean Ray there with the what do you call that kind of cut?
That flat top.
The flat top, yeah.
He looks like the kid from Kid and Play got stung by a hornet and got all blowed up.
You know why I love Sean? Because Sean changed the way that I worked out. Because Sean was training, he was into training heavy, but he always said, don't think of it as weight, think of it as speed. And so you'd put a lot of weight on it, you try to do it as fast as you could, and then you realize you're really not going fast, but you're moving a lot of weight. But it was that mental thing where I was like, because that took me from like, you know, I was benching at 405, and it was like, there's no way I would have done that benching the way I used to. But it was like, when you're thinking about just go as fast as you can doing 405, you're moving it like this.
Yeah.
It's still slow. Yeah, but you feel like you're doing as fast as you can.
How about Samir Bannout?
Oh, so you know what? John Cena, and you know Chris Bell.
Chris Bell,
the one that did the movie Bigger, Stronger, Faster.
I can't place it, but the name sounds familiar.
Yeah, so Chris Bell and John Cena used to call me what the hell was their nickname for Baby Nasser? For Nasser El Sambate.
Yeah,
because back when I was
like that. Yeah.
So they used to call me Baby Nasser in the gym. I used to think it was the funniest thing. But yes, Samir. I remember Samir and all those guys. He was Egyptian, wasn't he? Samir Bannout?
Lebanese.
Oh, he's Lebanese? Okay, because I knew this guy Muhammad, that was one of his good friends, that was an Egyptian guy. He was great. Those guys were awesome back in the day.
Yeah.
It's just funny because, like, you know, these guys, what they eat and everything, and the training, and you know, whatever they have to take, the supplements and the legal and illegal supplements. And then when you go and you train somebody, you try to help somebody in the gym, they're like, well, I don't want to lift heavy. I don't want to get big. Oh, you don't want to get big. Yeah, you think moving 5 extra pounds is all of a sudden you're going to blow up like a tick. You're going to be like Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to eat the side of a cow every 5 hours. You want to get big, buddy. It's like, you got to eat the calories. They're like, oh, I don't want to get big. Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right.
Like it's that easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I remember I was throwing around like crazy. I was doing like 140-pound dumbbells. And this is back when, before Craig Titus went to prison. Craig and Tom Prince was standing next to me at the Smith machine watching me, laughing because they thought I wasn't going to be able to do it. And I got 10 out, put them back on my knees, and then racked them all but, you know, no spot. And they were like, come over. This is like 98. They're like, come over here. And I'm like, what's up? They're like, you can train with us any day. I'm like, yeah. Meanwhile, they're like 3 times my size. But it was heavyweight.
What other sport can you train with the best? You know, work out with the best. What other sport? I can't think of it.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, I mean,
unless you're paying a ton of money.
Yeah, I mean,
but not only that, like all the football guys with Willie McGinnis used to work out at Gold's there, and A lot of the football guys worked out there. All the hockey guys with TR.
Yep. Baseball, Mike Piazza, and
Yeah.
I forgot the other guy's name. Yeah.
Yeah, they all. I mean, it's crazy.
It's definitely
And
a
then you
list of
see-
who's who.
And then there were people that worked out for films. I remember when Keanu Reeves was working out there, getting
Yep.
ready for The Matrix.
Yep.
And I can't remember the girl's name that trained him. Do you remember her?
Was it Val
She
Street?
was. No, it wasn't Val. It was. She had like reddish brown hair. Val was a blonde.
Annie Rowe?
No, it wasn't Annie.
I
This
can't
girl
think
used
of
to
it.
train a bunch of celebrities. When I first went to the gym, I was like, man, this girl trains everybody.
Kathy Nadell?
Boom. That's who I think it was.
Yeah. And then I'd see Keanu on the ice rink. He was a goalie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you used to play hockey. You used to do
Yeah.
Did you know what was the trainer's name? Now I'm gonna blank on his name, but he was from my neck of the woods. He passed away on the ice.
Oh.
God, why am I blanking on his
Oh,
name? I feel terrible.
What team was it?
No. He was a personal trainer at Gold's.
Oh.
Oh, I feel terrible that I'm blanking on his name.
Well,
right
you
now.
said he passed away on the ice. I thought you were talking.
Well, because a lot of guys in LA. Did you play over in Culver City? Is that where you played at that rink?
No, I played at Isoplex. We had a Gold's Gym team. Mike Ryan and Kenny Flores were on the team.
Oh, okay. I thought those guys played out of Culver City. They didn't. Where did you guys play?
Isoplex and then in Van Nuys.
Oh,
Or
in
out
Van
Valley.
Nuys. Okay. God, why am I blanking on this guy's name? It's going to drive me nuts. But yeah, he passed. He was like 51. He used to play on a hockey team, went out in the ice one night and just dropped to the ice.
Huh.
Oh, terrible.
Definitely would keep you cold.
Awful. All right. Tim's getting in on the bad jokes, everybody. Not just us. Did you guys ever see Rich Piana?
Yeah. Rich Piana, yeah.
Who was he?
He's huge. He passed
Monster.
away too.
He passed too, yeah.
What was the guy that made the supplements? He was a
Biceps
Texas bodybuilder.
Lee
Rick
Labrada.
something?
Lee Labrada.
Lee, thank you.
And Rich Gasperi.
And get rich. Exactly. Yes, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking of, those two guys. Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. They both did the nutrition thing too, right? Labrada Nutrition and Gaspari Nutrition.
Yep.
It's a crazy I mean, you should write a book because you probably have a lot of stories. I think about like just, it's so funny. I got to work with like so many people, not just Gold's Gym, but like I did I did a country record and I got to work with Matt Rawlings on piano and Vinnie Colaiuta played drums. And so I'm talking to David Paul one day and I said, yeah, I'm doing I might have to go up to Vinnie Colaiuta's house because this guy wants to use him on a record. And Vinnie told me I could go up and produce up at his studio. So David's like, oh, tell Vinnie I'm going to come. I'm like, what? What am I going to tell Vinnie that for? He goes, oh, I know Vinnie from what? So anyway, I tell Vinnie and he's like, oh yeah, I loved it. He knew him. Like those guys had a long history because I guess Vinnie and Michael Cimbello used to do a lot of work together.
Oh my God.
And so he knew David Paul. So it was just like a small world. Oh, Vinny's like the greatest. And then, it was just like I said. And I told you that story about Michael Cimbello. It's like the Forrest Gump life. It's like all just the funny things that happened. And
so in 2007, I started a record company with a good friend of mine, Alan Abrahams. We started Do Right Records.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our first artists was Tata Vega. Did you ever hear Tata Vega?
Mm-mm.
How about the Color Purple movie?
Oh, yeah.
She was the voice of Suge Avery. Tata was the singer that sang the track.
Oh, okay.
So we signed Tata Vega. My partner, I'm hoping I do this record company because I want to write songs for people, and I hope they, record my songs. That's my goal.
Right.
My partner Alan was connected in the industry deeply with Universal Publishing. He was president of Light Records. He had a real deep connection. He discovered the Doobie Brothers, Hall & Oates, I mean. So he produced Joan Baez. He had a lot of history. So we do it together. Tata's our first artist. And Vinnie, they bring Vinnie in to play the drums on the tracks. So that was my introduction to Vinnie Cayuta. And of course I didn't, and I wish I'd known he knew the Barbarians, because that would have been a whole nother channel.
Oh yeah.
But we had Andre Crouch, we had Abe Laboriel.
Oh, it's great.
Top musicians played on this album. This Joy the album.
Vinnie's amazing. I mean, Vinnie's just a great drummer. But I don't know if you know, Vinnie played with Frank Zappa.
Well, he was Sting's drummer too, right?
He was Sting's. He was Faith Hill's drummer. He was Jeff Beck at Ronnie Scott's.
Yeah.
He's the drummer. He toured with Jeff Beck for 2 years.
I was lucky enough to see that tour with him and Tal Wilkenfeld.
Played with Duran Duran. He's on the Wedding album. He's played with so many. Yeah. And he's just Megadeth. He did a Megadeth record. He's incredible. He reads and
he was sick when he came in and played too. He had the flu. And he just played through it, and he sweat, but he just kept playing through it. It was just amazing.
Yeah,
fixing his timing
his timing is ridiculous. He's just so good. It was that 2007, so that was after I worked with him. It was during the time when I was talking about doing stuff at his house, and he also worked with him and Warren Cucurullo. So Warren was the guitar player for Zappa during the same Joe's Garage album. Warren also was in Duran Duran and brought in Vinnie to do the Wedding album, which is the album with "Who Do You Love When You Come Undone?" You know, that in Ordinary World, that song.
Yeah.
So I run into Warren owned a restaurant on Main Street called Via Veneto. You remember that place? It was right next to George's Vitamin Shop. You know, what's that vitamin shop called? LA Urban.
Okay.
There's that Italian restaurant right next to it. That was it is still Warren Cucurullo's restaurant. So Warren one day says to me, "Hey, do me a favor, call Vinnie and see if he'll play." I'm like, "You have a fucking 30-year relationship with the guy. Why am I calling him about your project?" It was the weirdest thing. So anyways, I called Vinnie, and Vinnie was just like, "Well, find out what he wants to." It was just really, it was surreal. Again, it's like that Forrest Gump type thing, because I'm sitting there like, why am I in the middle of this? It was just so bizarre.
Yeah.
But it turns out Warren wanted to use Vinnie, but wanted to get him to really do something for nothing. And it didn't end well, but it was funny. We had laughs. I had laughs about it anyway. Yeah. But and Warren's a great guitar player. There's a lot. I don't know what the hell's out there in the water in LA, but there's so many great players. Especially, I went and ran a shop down in San Pedro, and every guy that walked in the shop to play guitar could play jazz. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Like, where's everyone learning to play like this?
Yeah.
It was nuts.
GIT.
No. These guys, they somehow were really. It's more common that jazz out there and whatnot. So that was 2000. I remember that was around the time that I think you and I went and grabbed a bite to eat at Joe's, because I think you were doing the record thing. Did Jeff Lorber do anything with you guys? Was he working on that stuff too, or no?
No, Jeff didn't. No.
Yeah.
No,
he was a funny guy. Well, he was a good guy, Jeff.
Oh,
we talked music every once in a while, but he always would look at I would call it, he would side-eye me all the time, like, why are you asking me this? I don't know if I was asking him weird questions, but it was always like, I'll tell you at Gold's Gym. So it was could be my first day at Gold's Gym. And I had to, when you're brand new at Gold's Gym, you sit behind the computer. That's the gate. And people would come and tell you their number. You remember this?
Oh, yeah.
So a guy walks in, he gives me his number. I punch it in. It comes up on the screen as Bob Claremountain. I go, Bob, you want to come here for a second? Call him back over. He goes, what's up? He's like, what, is something wrong with my membership? I'm like, no, not at all. I said, your name here says Bob Claremountain. Are you the Bob Claremountain? He's like, well, what does that mean? I said, are you the guy that mixes and does all the producing? He's like, yeah, you know who I am? I said, yeah, I'm a huge fan. I love your stuff. After that, the guy talked every time he came in, he would talk to me, he would tell me more stories about himself. Such the nicest guy. But I mean, he would go into detail about what's that?
I know the name.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no problem. I know the name, but who did he produce?
Well, he was more of a mix. He mixed Bruce Springsteen. He mixed Madonna. He mixes the albums when that's who they bring it to. He was not inexpensive.
I definitely seen the name before.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Tim?
Samples too, didn't he? Wasn't he Mark? Because I met him through Danny Cimbello.
Yes.
And Danny gave me a bunch of Bob Clearmountain sounds.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Were you friendly with Danny?
Yeah.
I did a lot of work with Danny. Remember when Danny moved to the marina?
I knew when he was just up from the gym.
Oh, okay. Right. He was in the house for a long time.
Yeah.
And then he was working on an album called Revolution of the Spirit, and I did a lot of mixing for him in the marina. Yeah. Yeah, I did a lot of stuff with. Do you remember when Danny had the studio? He had a studio next to the dog park in Venice.
No.
It looked like the Flintstone house. He had a little studio there. Oh, and he had this guy, Tony, that was an engineer for him. And he used to tell me, he'd be like, Dave, can you come down and play some guitar for me this afternoon? I'm like, what time? He's like, I don't know, 3. I'm like, who's engineering? He's like, Tony. I'm like, I'll be there at 5 because that's when he'll be ready for me. It was always like, as soon as you get there, he's like, I just got to fly one thing in. Because this is back when everyone was using DA88s before we went to full digital. We're using multi-machines on DA88. And this guy flying one thing in took 4 hours. It was, and not for everybody. It took most people no time at all. But this guy was like, if you can't find him, grind him. It was that type of situation. I was always just sitting there like, all right. Keep my calm. But yeah, that was Danny had a studio there. Danny was a great guy. He had a great now he passed a couple of years ago. You heard about that. Yeah, because David told me all about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He was a sweetheart.
Yeah, he was. Really was.
That's so
And
funny.
We wrote some great songs.
Many different places, you and I.
Yeah. Danny wrote some great songs. He wrote the Neutron Dance in Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
it was the Pointer Sisters, right?
Yeah. And what was funny was Danny he lost his publishing deal. And I want to say this was 2008 or somewhere around that area. And he was like, I don't know what to do, whatever, And I was like, well, listen, we'll grab lunch in a week or two. And so, I see him just a few days later, and he's like, let's go celebrate. I'm like, what happened? I guess Celine Dion picked a song that he wrote, and his publishing deal was back on. But because it was off, they had to pay him so much more to come back in because she wanted his song. It was like the most it's almost like Flacco. When Flacco, he wins the Super Bowl. I think Flacco's terrible. I know people will going to argue here, but Flacco wins the Super Bowl, then gets the deal of the century, re-signing with Baltimore, and then does nothing for the rest of his career. It's like he was making more than Brady, all those guys, and it was like just serendipitous that his contract was up when he won the bowl. That's how I felt like that Danny was. Danny was like his contract was up, and then the big score came in. He was pumped.
Well, do you remember the song?
I don't. I don't.
Uh,
I could look it up though. Let me see.
Yeah,
It had to be around. Yeah. But Danny was a good writer. I like Dan's stuff. I don't know if you have his album Revolution of the Spirit, but if you don't, I'll email it to you. It's great.
I don't have his album.
Yeah, it was really good. Hold on. Someone just sent me a picture. I saw it pop up in my thing. Hold on. Let me just see what you sent me, Richard.
I remember where I saw Bob Clear Mountain from now. It was credits for the band's music from Big Pink.
Oh, that's awesome, Richard. Thank you. Richard bought a Dave's Guitar Channel mug. Thing looks awesome. Thanks, Richard. Missing Persons was Baz Zappa's band with Dale Bozio. Yeah, Dale was she was Mary from Canoga Park.
Yeah, she's actually originally from Bellingham, Massachusetts.
Yeah, Terry Bozio, Dale Bozio, Patrick Ahern, and Warren Cucurullo.
Warren Cucurullo.
Were you a Zappa fan at all, or
No.
no? But Queen, you liked Queen, but not a Stones fan.
No.
Zeppelin?
Not even a Beatles fan.
Wow.
Ooh, that
I know.
hurts.
But I was a Bee Gees fan. I loved the Bee Gees back then.
Oh, well, who doesn't love the Bee Gees? They're great. They could be the greatest band of all time.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
I think they're fantastic. I think, what's that album called? The 70 Main Course? Fantastic album.
Yeah, Main Course.
Main
It's
Course
green,
is great. What is it?
Wasn't the Main Course a green colored?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It had Nights on Broadway.
Yeah.
That's great.
Nights on Broadway.
Yeah. We do that in my band. We do Nights on Broadway. Oh yeah. And then acoustically in my acoustic thing, when I play with Emily, we do Too Much Heaven. Nobody gets to. We do a lot of the Barry stuff. We do Guilty by Barbara Streisand with Barry.
Yeah.
And we do Emotion that Samantha Sang did that he wrote.
Yep.
And there's one more too. It's all great stuff. I mean, I think Barry Gibb's a great writer. I love his stuff.
Yeah, huge fan.
Yeah. It's great music. People today, it's funny, as a kid growing up, I think they get overlooked.
Yeah.
But I think they do. Yeah, I mean, Joe, you like the Bee Gees?
Some of the stuff, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Saturday Night Fever had to be one of the best albums of all time.
I do. I think the problem for them not getting as much kudos is that they were tied with the whole disco thing, and disco had kind of a bad
and
rap.
they're more than that. They were a great rock band.
Oh yeah.
Hold on.
I mean, you see videos
But
from them from '69.
Here's what's funny to me about people that put down disco. Listen to those drummers. Those guys were playing drums. That's real shit.
And it's real guitars too.
That's not a drum machine like house music is today. That's a real guy laying down a drum track. Those Bee Gees drum tracks are hard. That band was awesome. What was the guy's name that played keyboards? Blue Weaver? I love that band. Great. And ABBA too. Like, those are real musicians playing drums.
Yeah.
Listen to are you a Jeff Beccaro fan at all? Do you know who he is, the drummer for Toto?
I do know who Jeff is. Yeah, I've actually met Jeff.
You did? You met Jeff?
Yeah.
Oh, look at you.
Did you ever meet Robin DiMaggio?
Yes.
Robin, I'm godfather of Robin's son.
Oh, okay. So, I knew Robin.
Robin took me. I've met Jeff. I was over at David Page's house. His studio.
Steve Lukather. Robin was friends with Steve. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so I got to meet a lot of people. That's how I met Saida Garrett, was through Robin. Well, I didn't meet her. I talked to her, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he's got a lot of connections.
Oh, yeah.
But you were talking about Jeff Beccaro, Toto.
Oh, he played on first of all, he was like out of high school playing on playing Diamond Girl for the Seals and Crofts. Diamond Girl, I mean, he's a kid, 19 years old. By the time he was like 23 years old, he's playing on Steely. Well, no, he's 21 years old. He's playing Steely Dan's Black Friday and all those songs. He did that whole album.
That was Jeff, yeah.
Yeah. I heard some great stories.
Joe.
Oh, Joe Porcaro, yeah.
Yeah.
I've met Mike, who passed from ALS. And
the bass player.
And Steve. Steve, the brother Steve Porcaro, wrote Human Nature for Michael Jackson.
Oh.
That's a good pull.
That's a great song.
Right? Oh, beautiful. Now, here's, people talk about songwriters, and obviously I think I'm speaking to the choir here with you, Tim, because you're not a Stones fan, you're not a Beatles fan, so you probably don't give a shit about Bob Dylan.
I couldn't stand Bob Dylan.
Oh,
I couldn't understand him. I didn't know what he was saying.
Yeah. I saw him live in Long Beach, and some girl's like, "Isn't this unbelievable?" I said, "What's unbelievable is he could be singing in Japanese right now. I have no idea." That's what's unbelievable. She wanted to be dead, by the way. She's like, "Can somebody escort this asshole out of here?" I'm like, what did I say? I'm not a fan, but let me tell you, when I see in Rolling Stone magazine and they have that asshole as the best songwriter of all time, I'm like, does anyone have any respect for Gamble and Huff? Gamble and Huff, Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff, when the songs that they wrote are so unbelievable. Me and Mrs. Jones, like I love that old soul.
Yeah.
What's that one that Teddy Pendergrass sang, but Thelma Houston had the bigger hit? Don't Leave Me This Way. Ah, baby. Right, don't leave me. That was Gamble and Huff. Those guys wrote hundreds of fantastic songs. And you're going to compare that to this fucking guy, Dylan, who sings like he hasn't finished eating his food yet? What? Come on, swallow, then we'll sing. Take your time. You know what I mean? Take your time. Take your time. Take a drink of water. That's okay. We got the studio all night.
Oh my God, that's hysterical.
You remember that show Almost Live? It came out of Seattle. It was like late 80s, early 90s. It's almost like an SNL type crew. But anyways, they did this skit where they were just moving into CDs and stuff. Oh, all your albums now recreated crystal clear clarity on CDs. And then they gave examples on vinyl. Then they had, okay, here's Bob Dylan on vinyl. And you hear someone going, hey, hey. Then go, okay, here's Bob Dylan on CD. Hey. Okay, bad example.
Brian says, didn't Dylan work out at Gold's? He may have. He had a restaurant around he had a restaurant in Santa Monica Cafe.
Did he?
Mm-hmm. He did. And I know he bought a motorcycle from Forrest. You know Forrest?
Yeah.
I know he bought a bike from there. Over
Harley?
at, what's that place? Bartell's, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think he worked out at that gym. I've never seen him there. But I'm just saying, like, they always have him as like, he's the number one writer. Number one writer. How is he better than Barry Gibb? Barry Gibb, I could name 5 songs that I could hear for the rest of my life and never hear another Dylan song, and I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
In fact, I'd prefer it. But
how is he better than Lennon and McCartney? That's what kills me. It's like,
but I'm saying, but like, even if you're not a Beatles fan, I can understand that you don't put Lennon and McCartney in the top 5. Maybe it's not in your top 5. That's understandable. But Barry Gibb should be somewhere. It should be in the top 10. I'm sorry. I just don't see Dylan as number 1 or number 50.
Not in my list.
No.
The volume.
How is he better than Paul Simon? What song does Dylan have that's better than Bridge Over Troubled Water?
Yeah.
50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. No. Still Crazy After All These Years. Those are songs that evoke emotion.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, what?
Like a billion Billy Joel songs I'd listen to first.
Yeah, Billy
100%.
Joel.
I love
I
Billy
agree.
Joel, right?
You see, because you guys are
Stranger.
New Yorkers.
Well, yeah, Billy
See?
Joel.
No, because-
and I'm not a Bruce Springsteen fan, but some of those early songs are just phenomenal.
Oh, the first three
Springsteen's
Springsteen albums
Jersey.
are great. But
I-
still,
My
no,
brother
but
liked
still,
them.
but no, if Tim lived out in L.A., Billy Joel's not a big a name as Elton John out there. I'd rather listen to Billy Joel. Like Elton John songs doesn't say anything to me.
I
I
agree.
mean,
Yeah.
my favorite song by Elton John is Harmony. Hello, baby, hello. But what's he singing about? I have no idea. But you listen to Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, and here we are waving Brenda and Eddie goodbye. Whoa. Or Vienna,
Yeah.
or Summer Highland Falls.
Catholic girls.
What is it?
Catholic girls start much too late. I don't remember the name of the song.
Come
Only
up,
a Good
Jim.
Die Young.
Only the good day. Yeah, only the
Only
good
the
die
Good
young.
Die Young.
What was the other one too? Honesty.
Yeah,
It's a
he
great
had
song.
some great songs, but Scenes from an Italian Restaurant was never really my cup of tea. It's like, I'm sure it's a great song, but I just never.
It's fantastic. Brenda and Eddie with the popular steadies and the king at the queen
It
at the
just seems
prom.
corny to me for some
Driving
reason
around
every
with the
time.
cloth top down and the radio on. Everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seems kind of corny. To
Oh,
me.
it's great. What was corny was Piano Man, which he doesn't like. But in So It Goes, does Elton John have a song that even comes close to In So It Goes? Now, if you guys aren't familiar with In So It Goes, it's on a later Billy Joel album called Stormfront. But In So It Goes could be the greatest song he ever wrote. It's the most gut-wrenching. It's gorgeous. It's a great song. In fact, the other day I was watching Billy Joel was on some show and he says they had him name his 5 favorites, and I agreed with 4 of the 5. One of them he said was it's still rock and roll to me, and or you may be right. I was like, how is that in your top 5? But in So It Goes, Vienna, Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, and one other. What the hell was it? But he doesn't mention Summer Highland Falls, and I think Summer Highland Falls is great. But that's because, again, you're from Rochester, Tim, and it's the New York in you. That's those songs, and same with Joe, and we're all East Coast guys. Those songs mean something to us. Whereas Elton John,
Stranger is the first album I ever bought.
Really?
Yeah.
Some great songs on that album. The Stranger. Well, let's see if I can remember what else was on that album. Just the Way You Are. Only the Good Die Young. She's Always a Woman.
A lot of hits.
It's a perfect
She's
album.
always a woman to me.
Yeah, it's like a perfect album.
That song was about how his wife was a bitch to everybody. She was his manager, and people would come and bitch to Billy about her. And so he wrote that song that she can be all these things to you guys, but to me, she's
Always a woman.
Always a woman to him.
Till
And
they
there
get
was
divorced.
Uptown Girl. And that was about Christy Brinkley, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's when
Christy Brinkley was in the video.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She's always a woman until Christy Brinkley came in the picture. Then she's like, she's always a woman out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the old joke about the guy hitting the lottery. Honey, I hit the lottery. Pack your bags. Pack my bags. Where are we going? We're not going anywhere. You're out of here.
Isn't that a Rodney joke?
No, it's an old joke, though. It's a
Sounds like
classic. Pack your bags. Pack my bags. Where are we going? We're not
Henny
going
Youngman.
anywhere. You're out of here.
The old Henny Youngman. Take my wife, please.
I tell you, take my wife.
Please.
I take her everywhere, but what was I think did they have trouble in Goodfellas? They had to shoot that scene a few times because I had a young man. Couldn't remember his line.
Yeah, well, it's weird. It's like 30 years, what was it? 20 years after the fact of when it was supposed to. So he's 20 years older than he would have been. So it's like, yeah, he was pretty old at that point. So
Henny Youngman, there's a video on YouTube. It's like Johnny Carson's roast, and they have Mr. Warmth is there, Don Rickles, and the
Don
funniest
Rickles.
thing is Henny Youngman comes on and he's doing the same jokes he's done from the 50s and 60s. And they're all laughing, not with him, but at him for just being so out of touch that Johnny Carson afterwards gets up and goes, "Thanks, Henny Youngman, for that walk down memory lane." And the whole
They
day
were savage.
The whole day just starts crying, laughing because it's so true. It's like every joke was terrible.
They were savage.
It's so
those
great.
roasts. The minute that Rickles got behind the mic,
He's the best.
I
And in
just watched
today's
him
world-
the other day on Johnny Carson, a redo. Just the other day, Rickles and Johnny Carson. Oh, it's hysterical.
Was it when Rickles broke the ashtray?
no,
Yeah,
that
They
was-
go on
that
the
was
set
the
of CPO
pencil box.
Sharky.
That was the
I will-
pencil box, and
The
Johnny
pencil
came
box,
back
that's what it
and told
was.
him- I was watching that night with my mother, and he goes,
I thought it was a cigarette box.
"Yeah." He gets no. It was I thought it was a pencil, but remember because Johnny always had the pencil.
Yeah.
No, it's a cigarette box, I believe.
Maybe a
But
double.
neither here.
Either
nor
way, he gets up. He goes to the other studio while he's filming. CPO show. Unbelievable.
Right. Oh, my favorite's when he goes, "I want to be with you." When he says he's apologizing to Johnny, and then he goes, "I want to be with you. Let me be with you." And Carson's laughing. Those guys had such fun back then.
Oh my gosh.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, everyone takes things seriously now.
Yeah, today it's like, I mean,
That
when-
offends
when-
me. Yeah.
oh yeah. But when
plenty.
Rickles used to like rip on a guy and then he'd turn around and he goes, Is he coming at me? Is it no? He was
He
the
did a-
best.
Rickles did a piece called "Rickles on the Loose." He came into Gold's Gym to film it.
Oh, that was what was that from? That was like it was the beginning of one of his stand-up
You know,
routines,
was it
right?
or something? Was it HBO? Rickles on the Loose.
It was an HBO special, a stand-up routine of his, and he did like some acting before, right? That was at Gold's.
Rickles on the Loose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Derek and I, in fact, I have that picture somewhere of Derek and I and Rickles between us. Yeah,
Oh, that's funny.
I don't see it, but yeah.
So
Somewhere
a
I
buddy
can-
of mine that was friends with Spiewak, this guy Paul Maher. Paul worked for Leno. So Paul calls me up one day and he's like, "Hey Dave,
Oh,
do
I
you
knew
want to come
Paul Mar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Paul calls me and he's like, "Hey Dave, do you want to come up to the show today? Kiss is going to be on." And I'm like, "Well, is it original Kiss?" He's like, "Oh no, it's Tommy and Eric." I'm like, "Yeah, not really. I don't care." He's like, "Oh really? I thought you were a huge Kiss fan." I'm like, "If it was original Kiss, I'd come up." I'm like, "Who else is on the show?" He's like, "Rickles." I'm like, "Yes, I want to get on the show. I want to be there, be on the show." So I got to meet Rickles backstage and hung out. It was really cool. I told Rickles he was my second favorite comedian. And he says to me, who's your favorite? I said, everyone else tied for first. And he goes, he's like, "Who let this guy funnier backstage here? Who's funnier than me? Get him out of here." Escorted me out. Yeah, that was funny. I loved Rickles. I thought, to me, he was like,
Yeah.
That was pure energy. Pure energy.
Yes.
such a different
Like
time. and just-
unchained energy. They
Like
had
Robin
coming over.
Williams.
That's people that have just that creativity coming out of the top of their head. They don't need 15 people writing shit for them.
Yeah, for me, the
You
thing
know?
with Robin Williams, though, and I hate to throw a little Yiddish out there to you guys, he was a little shticky. Do you know what I mean? It's like a shtick. It's like,
Yeah.
Are you guys Seinfeld fans at all?
Love it. That was doing a marathon early tonight.
The Moyle, the guy who plays the Moyle, absolutely kills me when he talks about getting the glass in the rug.
Wasn't
I
that
noticed you put
Bruce
the,
Lamar?
he's like, I noticed you put the glass on the edge. You had the whole table to put the glass, but you put it on the edge. That thing's gonna fall. It's gonna crack. You're gonna get down on your hands and knees, and he starts
And it gets in
screaming
your
at Elaine.
chair, and it gets in, and you can't get it out. And you think you got it all out, but you can't. And then one
Then
day
what-
you're walking across the cup, you're getting right in the foot, and you kill yourself. You kill yourself.
I love that guy.
Trying to remember, was that Bruce Mahler that played the Moyle?
No, the Moyle's a guy
Oh.
named
He was a character actor, that guy. Let me look it up.
Alan. Is it Levin? What the hell is his last name?
It was Charles Levin.
Charles Levin.
Yeah, Charles
Wow.
Levin.
What am I thinking of then? Okay, I was thinking
Bruce
Some
Mel is the
British.
rabbi. He's the one going, Laney. And this
That
upsets
was
you.
that was on Tonight.
Yeah, that's
that
the
was
one
like-
when,
yeah, she's
when
a
George is
sister.
getting married and Elaine is all upset.
What was happening?
George is getting married. He got engaged. And Elaine is upset that it's not her.
Yeah.
So she confides to the rabbi. The rabbi's telling everybody. And then he's on that talk show late at night. And she's like, there's a girl in my building. Let's call her Elaine. And George is in bed with Susan watching. And he's like, and she thinks her friend George is a loser. Oh, it's great.
It was supposed
Anyways,
to be
Tim,
a
this is what our
summer
show
deal.
is about. We basically get you on, talk about yourself, and then we go off down the
it's
beaten
like
path
miracle.
of just ridiculousness.
Yeah, Dave,
guys-
I wasn't that far off. I wasn't that far off because he played Rabbi Glickman in a few episodes in Seinfeld.
I said he was the
Gustav.
rabbi.
Oh, I missed that because I was busy looking it up.
Yeah, no, Mallow played the rabbi. The Moyle was a different. Moyle's way earlier. Rabbi's later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's funny stuff.
yeah. Well, you remember the Moyle on
See that
set?
I've missed a lot.
What's that?
I can see and hear that I've missed a lot over the
Oh,
years.
I tell you, on Netflix, you can watch all Seinfelds. They're all there, and they're so funny. The show's great. It really evolves too. When you watch the early ones, you're like, oh, this is good. Then the show, like every few season, goes up a gear, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh wow, this is just getting funnier and funnier, and it's just insane.
Yeah, very rare would shows do that start getting better and better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the few that I could think of is South Park. It's one of the few where every season they're like, wait, is this better than last year? How the hell they pull that off?
Yeah, the first season was kind of a hiccup. It wasn't that great the first season. It's like it was kind of, but then it got a little more to the point where it was actually a little more intelligent as it moved along, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, because there's always that hidden message. And, at the end, Stan says, well, maybe if we didn't do this, this wouldn't have happened.
Well, we were talking about it. Remember, we were talking about it today when the college basketball wasn't paying any of the students, like they weren't allowed to make money, and then they had that lawsuit. And so South Park had the episode when Cartman shows up as a Tennessee gentleman, and he's like, goes up to the university, and he's like, "How do you guys get your slaves?" And the guy's like, we don't have slaves. We have student athletes. And he goes, student athletes? That is genius. It's the funniest bit I've ever seen.
They pulled no punches, those two.
Student athletes? When Cartman is dressed as the Tennessee gentleman. Excuse me, how do you get your slaves? Slaves, we have student athletes. Student athletes, that is genius. It is, I mean, those guys just so topical. Wait until you see what NIL does to college football. NIL? What's NIL?
Yeah, I have no idea what NIL is.
What is that?
Hannah bomb, what does that mean? But yeah, so anyways, Tim, we don't need to keep you all evening, but I wanted to thank you for coming on because you've been awesome.
Oh, thank you. This was an education for me.
Well, we learned, first of all, we learned that you're a Bee Gees fan, which I'm glad I got that out of you because I'm a huge Bee Gees fan.
Yeah.
Oh, name, image, likeness. Yeah. Huge Bee Gees fan. And which I found funny because you're not a huge R&B guy. Although, do you remember Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes?
Sure. Yeah.
If You Don't Know Me By Now and Wake Up Everybody and
Yeah.
what was
But
the
that's
other one?
the thing, You're gonna
What's
sum
that?
it up. Tim's a big fan from the Bee Gees to the Barbarians.
That's right.
Big fan
From B to B.
from B to B.
B to B.
The Barbarian Brothers.
Yeah, Tim, I wanted to ask, do you follow any fitness influencers on YouTube at all? And if so, who do you follow?
No.
It's like, I mean, I kind of lightly followed a couple of them. Greg Doucette, you know Greg at all?
No.
He sounds like Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh,
It's like, it's an annoying voice, and it was entertaining for a while. Then he kind of went off in direction where he's like, I'm making 2 videos every day, and it just, the content sucked.
Yeah, you know, you brought this up before because you asked, did you know Santana Rodriguez? She was on this show a couple of weeks ago.
I just saw his name on your thing. Yeah, I don't know.
She's a fitness girl, and she
A fitness lady.
yes, and you asked her also. I got to tell you, the people on the West Coast, like the Gold's Gym crowd, any of those fitness people like that are on YouTube or anything, they have no idea who any of those people are. It's such a more tight knit. Don't you think? Like the Venice community, it's like I think it's more in the pro bodybuilding. It's more geared towards the pro. Don't you think, Tim?
I don't even know. I don't watch it.
No, the Venice. I'm saying the Venice. Well, as opposed to like people on YouTube that make videos. Like, I mean, you know, Clark. What's his last name? Bartram. Do you know Clark? But like Mike O'Hearn. You know who Mike O'Hearn is?
Yep.
Yeah, he's huge.
Like, yeah, Mike has a following because Mike, you know, he's a Venice guy, and
well, actually, he's part of that drama that kind of was picking up on there because this guy Greg Doucette was claiming BS on Mike O'Hearn because Mike O'Hearn says, well, I just do like 20 minutes of cardio like 2 times a week. And, you know, and I just do all lifting. Otherwise, he says, you don't need to work your heart that much. And then they got into a back and forth on that.
I don't think, does Mike do a lot of cardio? I've never seen Mike do cardio.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. And that was the whole thing. He said at most he does like 20 minutes of walking on a treadmill like twice a week or something like that. And Greg
Mike Ryan does a lot of cardio.
Yeah, Mike
does.
Yeah.
Mikey. Yeah, he does a lot of cardio.
Yeah.
I started doing, when I started dieting down for what I'm, you know, trying to get back in shape, I've been doing 2 hours a day, an hour in the morning and an hour at night.
Yeah.
And that's brutal.
It's brutal, but it's working, huh?
Yeah, it's working. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think,
You're
but
down
also
15?
I'm 215 right now. Yeah.
You've lost 15, I think you said?
Oh, no. I've lost like 45.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. 45 pounds.
Me and Dave are actually the same weight right now. Just about.
Crowbar lost 200.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe has lost
Around 150 so far.
That's amazing, you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did mine by intermittent fasting and working out.
Yeah.
But I've stopped the intermittent fasting as well because I think, you know, I think intermittent fasting is a means to an end. Now I'm on calorie restriction, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I eat what I want. I just make sure I get my protein in. That's something I was not doing before when I was doing the intermittent fasting. And I suffered some ill effects from that. And I had no idea that I wasn't getting enough protein. I thought I was, but.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to get protein and carbs you can put in your hands.
Yep.
You know, balanced it out 3 or 4 times
Oh, yeah.
a day.
I never shied away from carbs. The thing is, if I take in carbs, I try taking a lot of protein at the same time.
Yeah.
I make French toast loaded with egg whites.
Sure.
It's and stuff like that.
The thing with Mike O'Hearn lifts an awful lot of weight, and he's into like heavy moves. So he's also got ridiculous amounts of muscle where he doesn't need to do cardio.
And also
he's eating that bad either.
He's done some weird exercises where you could really hurt yourself if you did it. I forget what they were. I remember like, wow, what the hell is he doing here? But another thing is he's in his 50s as well, and he looks like he's in his 30s.
Yeah,
he has a full head of hair.
I was going to say Mike might be a year older than me, maybe.
Hey, man, I just turned 54. They keep telling me I look like I'm in my 30s too.
Mm-hmm.
You look like a teenager, Joe.
That was all the booze I used to drink. I pickled myself.
Oh.
That's true. Joe has a vlog, a video, basically blog of it's called a sobriety vlog. He doesn't drink anymore. and he's turned his life around. He's losing weight. He's getting healthy.
And I bet you about it for about 20 minutes every day.
Yeah, and he complains. That's
like
what's great about it. It's the kvetching about it.
No, I don't
He's burning
think so.
calories complaining. Yeah.
Never. Well, like I say, no Italian ever turned away from a good B and C. You got to do the B and C. That's bitching and complaining.
That's right.
Now, if you look at the Psalms, a third of the Psalms, David's doing a good old biblical B and C.
Classic. But yeah, so what I was saying was Mike Ahern. I'm trying to think who else was like a big not like an someone that would be popular on the internet. I don't really know.
Oh God.
John Defendus. Remember John Defendus?
John. No.
He's on the East Coast. I think he's in might have been Boston. John, it can't be Boston though. Maybe Connecticut.
What's he look like?
He used to do the vacuum. Really good top bodybuilder.
Oh.
But he's training people. He trains a ton of people.
Yeah. I didn't know him. I knew trying to think who else. I mean, most of them really don't do internet stuff other than Mike Ahern has a big presence and Mike Ryan has a pretty good presence.
Yeah.
As far as that's all I see. I don't really.
Yeah, I don't look for that stuff.
Yeah, I think the other day I saw Tito had something posted. Tito Raymond, Amy Fodley's husband.
Sounds familiar, but I can't put a
Yeah,
face
Tito.
to it.
He's a Boston guy. Yeah. When I see Trish, is it Trish Stratus? Is that the one that's with Steve Williams, Steve Austin, whatever the hell name he goes by on?
No. She's not.
What?
I don't think she's ever been with him.
Really? Want to look that up?
No, I don't.
Do you know who she is?
Trish Stratus? Yeah, former women's female champion.
Yeah, who's she with?
I'll look it up.
If I just went by what I would know, I would say Steve Austin.
No, he was never with him.
Who's she married to?
Been married to someone named Ron Fisico since 2006.
Who am I thinking of then?
I don't know.
Let me look up. Personal life.
How long do you guys go till?
Whatever it
we
takes.
don't go. We usually till we run out of
2.5, 3 hours.
Till we run out of juice. Let me just see. Who did I say it was? Trish
Stratus. He was married to another one named Deborah, but she was not that much of a. She was more of like a valet than a wrestler.
No. Well, I see a lot of pictures with these two. Let me see. Maybe I'm wrong. I only can tell I only learn anything I do on Instagram. Oh, maybe they did a couple of podcasts together. Oh yeah, it's on some. Maybe that's what they were advertising. I just kept seeing.
Yeah, well, he does a show called He has two shows. He has a show where he hangs out with basic other stars, but he
Right.
has an interview show.
He was good buddies with Rich Minzer.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the times that I've ever hung out and Steve Austin was there, it was always with Rich. We used to walk up and down Venice Beach.
Yeah.
And that was like right around the time when Steve, I think, was either looking for a place in Marina Del Rey or was living in Marina Del Rey part-time. Yeah, he's a nice guy.
That was before the Stone Cold days.
No, he was Stone Cold.
Oh, okay.
He was Stone Cold. I'm talking 2002. Anywhere between like 97 and 2002.
Yeah.
2003. I can't remember when he moved to there. Oh, you know who another guy that passed away that used to work out in the gym who was the greatest guy was Tiny.
Tiny Lister.
Yeah, how great a guy was he?
Yeah.
Such a great guy.
Yep.
That was the guy with the crooked eye.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He just passed away recently.
Yeah.
He was in everything. And everyone
Yeah.
loved him in everything.
Zeus in The Fifth Element, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
He was in The Fifth Element. He was in Armed and Dangerous.
But he was in that HBO series First and 10 that was big. It was like one of the first kind of cable series ever made.
Wasn't he in Role Models as well? I think he played the gym owner. Was that the movie? Role Models.
Role Models?
Yeah. When did he
Jim?
die? Hang on for 1 second.
Wasn't
No,
it
he
like
was
a year
alive
ago?
when Role Models was made because I was living in LA when Role Models was made. Role Models was filmed in the marina.
Yeah, hang on for 1 second.
On one of the walk streets. Like by the bridge there, like that on the canals.
He was
there.
only 62. Wow.
Not Marina, Venice.
Let's see.
But yeah, he was a cool guy. I liked him.
Yeah, he was good. One of the good guys.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think who else.
Oh,
I used to
goodness.
see.
They found him. He was 62 years old. They found him dead on December 10th. That's my birthday.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, you know who else? Do you remember John Taylor from Duran Duran? He worked out at Gold's. And I ended up getting a gig from, do you remember Phil Golia?
Yeah.
So I used to give Phil guitar lessons. And Phil's a Boston guy. I had no idea he was from Boston because he has no accent.
No.
But he's from like a town called Weston, Mass. So one time I'm talking to Phil, I'm at his house and I'm teaching him a bunch of songs and he wants to learn everything James Taylor, Dan Fogelberg. I'm like, dude, you should have been born in Boston. Like, this is the shit that I grew up that nauseates me. He's like, that's where I'm from. I was like, what? What do you mean you're from there? He's from Weston, Mass. I was like, that is hilarious. But he had a guy working for him named Dave Cullen. I don't know if you remember Dave. He's in real estate now. And one day, Dave was a good friend of mine. So John Taylor had come in the gym and we were talking about bands like Japan and Queen. He was a big fan of Queen too. And one day we were talking about the album Queen 2. And John Taylor's like, do you want to do a gig with me? I'm like, what? He's like, do you want to do a gig? I need a guitar player for a gig. My guitar player is going to be in England. I have a couple of gigs lined up. I said, okay, but you want to hear me play first? He goes, no. You like Queen 2, you're all set. He goes, just go. I was like, what? He's like, you're all set. It was so funny.
Wow.
He was like the nicest guy.
That's incredible.
Yeah. But he was, so I did the gig and I played at the Mayan Theater. And one of the funny things was there was a girl that works out at Gold's and she comes up to me one day and she's like, do you have a dual rectifier? I was like, it's an amplifier, a guitar. And I said, yeah. My boyfriend wants to know if we can come by your house and try it. And I seen the girl around the gym. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And at the time, I was roommates with Tom File. We lived in Venice. They come over. It turns out the guy's Randy Piper from the band Wasp. So I said, and I didn't I wouldn't know him from a hole in the wall because I wasn't a fan of Wasp, but he introduces himself as Randy. And I'm like, oh, hey, what's going on? He's like, I go, you want to play the guitar? I had my guitar. And he's like, no, you play it. So I played it. And then he was like, what do you charge for lessons? And I ended up giving him lessons. And then I ended up using his pedal board when I played with John Taylor. It was just like so surreal and funny at the time. But it wasn't until after I started giving him lessons, he was like, yeah, I played in a band called Wasp. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I think I had that album. I don't remember one song from it.
Oh, man.
Which I didn't. I felt terrible. I was like, I
love Wasp.
Yeah. He was the nicest guy.
Huh.
He was a good player too, but he was a nice guy. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then he moved back to Ohio. He went back to Ohio. And his city was gone.
City was gone.
Beat you to it. I knew you were going to come out with that, so I had to run to it. But all right, guys, that's almost 3 hours. What do you think? You want to call it?
Thank you
Well,
so
you're
much.
the boss.
How about you? You tired?
We got another good episode in the bag.
I'm
I
fine.
think.
Absolutely. Next week, guys, we have the maker of vintage sound amps, Ricky Hayes, who is an amplifier builder, who he makes the only amplifier that Brent Mason endorses officially. You guys familiar with Brent Mason? Anyone?
Oh,
Brent
definitely.
Mason fans?
Definitely.
Smoking guitar player, country guy.
I mean,
Into
I'm not
country music
familiar
at
with
all,
all
Tim?
of his music, but
Not really. My wife
No?
loves country.
Oh,
So I
really?
have to listen to it, but yeah.
Have her turn you on to Steve Warner. He's the greatest.
Steve Warner.
Yeah, the greatest.
Okay.
Great guitar player. Now, is she from where you guys are at now? Is that where she's from, or where was she from originally?
El Segundo.
Oh, I left my wallet there. I left
You
my
beat me to
wallet.
it. I was
in
coming
El
right for it.
Segundo. I gotta get it. I got to get it.
yeah, I
That's
just
a little-
said the name of that place tonight too when we're out having cigars.
We've every guest we've had has mentioned El Segundo.
I left my wallet there.
It's a bunch of fucking wallets left in El Segundo.
It really. It's a song by
Well, we
Tribe
gotta
Called
get it.
Quest.
Oh.
Great song.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
fantastic. I think is Benita Applebaum on that album too. Benita Applebaum. It's great stuff. I love Tribe Called Quest. But yeah, so she's from El Segundo.
Yeah.
And wow. How long have you guys been married now?
Well,
Oh, let me guess. I want to say I worked at Gold's in
you gonna do
96.
Karnak?
Well, I just trying to place where I was. So in 97, I'm working at Gold. I'm going to say you got married in either 98 or 99.
That's good. 99.
Really? And can I guess let me guess the month.
Okay.
May.
June is
No.
always good for
No,
weddings.
I will say they got married in September.
So you're looking at something.
No, I'm not.
There we go.
I'm not at
You're
all.
not?
Was it
No.
Labor Day wedding?
No, I just figure when you're in LA, September, October is like the best month weather-wise, especially on the west side. So that's when you would want to get married if you're going to do something outdoors. So I just guess September.
We got married in Vegas.
Oh, and perfect, even better, because that's the best month for Vegas in September.
She's my fourth wife, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
finally
God bless
got
you.
You got it right. You got it right on the fourth try.
I did. That's my lucky number.
Yeah, mine too.
Fantastic Four.
Why is your lucky number 4?
I don't know.
See,
I just-
mine is because my birthday is 4/4.
Oh. Well, 12-1 is a 4, I guess. December 1st.
And because Krellbau's favorite basketball player was Pistol Pete, whose number was 44.
Pete Maravich.
Yeah. Nah, just to get the record straight, my favorite was Bird, but yeah. It's
Larry Bird?
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about
I was shouted down today by who the best. I said today the best basketball player of all time was Jordan, and I got shouted down with Bill Russell. I didn't argue. I just said, listen, you can shout loud, but you're not right. It's Jordan.
I go with Jordan.
I got to go with Jordan.
I think, it's when you always say the best and stuff. I mean, like, I'm sure there's things Michael Jordan did he was best in, but my argument for Bird was that he did things no other player did before or since. As far as, I mean, he would sacrifice his body like no other player ever did. He took shots from left hand, behind the backboard, all that stuff. Well, let me put it this way. We can argue all day back and forth on.
We're not arguing. You're just talking.
Watching highlights. Who's more entertaining watching the highlight reel? Bird, hands down. And
Over
Jordan. You can watch Jordan dunk and take shots but seeing Bird just twist around using different arms and reversing and, like I said, shooting over it's like it's the highlight.
The Bulls, when he was winning the Bulls rings, they kept saying to him, listen, we like the rings, but can you make it more exciting? Can you make it like so?
And you twist around, change hands up.
Larry Bird has some videos of him that really is exciting, even though he's not winning the rings you're winning. Can you make it exciting?
Well, it's not all about the amount of rings.
I'm just saying, according to the owners, they want to see a good game. No, I'm just saying, I think Jordan look, I love Larry Bird. I think he's fantastic.
Trent Dilfer has more Super Bowl rings than Dan Marino. So it's like, I'm not going to say Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl ring and Dan Marino has 0. So I'm not going to say Trent Dilfer is a better quarterback simply because of that.
No, but you're not going to say get the game. You're not going to say the other one's more exciting.
Well, not in that case. Well, I would say that Dan Marino's far more exciting than Trent Dilfer ever was.
I don't know. Dilfer had some exciting things. He won a ring. Exciting.
Oh, really exciting.
How many girls want a ring?
Game? It wasn't exciting.
The whole night. The whole night. Nobody asked our guest, did he ever take a jelly donut? Suck out the jelly. Ask him, Dave. Go ahead.
Have you ever taken a jelly donut and sucked out the jelly and put in chocolate swirl ice cream?
No.
How about a chocolate covered graham cracker and smear peanut butter on it with little slices of banana? You see the movie Fatso? It's when they're all sitting around and they're drinking water, trying to just remember like the days of what they used to do.
Water, trading Fat Man War Story.
And the guy was like, did you ever take chocolate covered graham crackers and cover it with peanut butter? And the other guy goes, with little slices of banana. Get the honey.
And whipped cream on top.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
And meanwhile, in the kitchen, you got to watch the movie. It's a classic Dom DeLuise. In the kitchen, all the cupboards are chained and locked.
Right.
So he won't go and overeat and break his diet. And it's basically like an Alcoholics Anonymous, but for food. So
what they call it, the fatty, oh God, the chubby checkers. The chubby checkers.
Yeah, they were called the chubby checkers. And they're over checking and they're drinking the warm water with lemon and they're trading Fat Man War Stories.
It's fantastic.
You ever suck out the jelly from a jelly donut and fill it with Reese's Pieces and warm it up in?
Oh yeah, and I like to warm it up in the ovens. Oh, they're just fat. It's great.
Of course, it ends up with them.
Yeah,
they lose their minds. The big guy rips the cabinet off the wall, and they get
they had to get Ferrigno stunt double to rip the cabinets off the wall.
Yeah, what was his name? Manny something.
Yeah,
Manny Perry.
Manny Perry. We got to look that up sometime. At least I got to look him up and see who he is. You said he worked out at Gold's?
Oh yeah.
I'll have to see who he is. There was always that guy in Venice. Who was the guy with the biggest arms? There was that one guy who was like
Bill Pettis.
Bill.
Bill Pettis. Yeah.
God.
Another sweetheart. Another
Yeah.
great guy. Yeah.
Unbelievable. And we talked about Dudley. No, I was kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, do I love Dudley. He'll be remembered. He passed years ago.
I would think, yeah.
There was another guy. Do you remember Lloyd Fields?
Lloyd Fields, the mountain climber.
You remember Lloyd?
Oh, I love Lloyd.
He reminded me of Exodore from Mork and Mindy.
Oh my God, Exodore.
This guy.
Amazing too.
What was Exodore's real name?
I don't know, but Lloyd Fields, this guy was the greatest guy. But he used to say some of the most off-the-wall shit to me.
Poetry.
He would walk in, I'd be like, Lloyd, how was your day today? It's okay if you don't mind if you call sitting at home masturbating all day, okay. He was like an older guy. I'd be like, what? And he would try to walk by you with a straight face after saying that. And it's just like hilarious.
Robert Donner.
Was Exodore? Lloyd Fields, we used to call Exodore. We used to say he was Exodore.
Oh.
And then there was the Alfs. Remember the Alfs? The guy, I forget his first name, but he looked just like Willie Nelson. And he would always walk in going, to all the girls I love. But he looked just like Willie.
Oh, that's
he was,
funny.
I think he had passed, too. I remember his wife's name was Martha.
Huh.
I can't remember his name. Great, great guys. Anyways, thanks so much, Tim, for coming on. You're welcome back anytime.
Thanks
If you'd
for
like to
having
come
me.
on the
Really
panel.
Yeah, great talking to you.
Yeah, we loved
Tim,
it.
you got to write that book, Tales from the Gym. Think about
It'd
it.
be unbelievable because
The golden years.
The golden years.
One of my
Tales from the
partners,
Gym.
Ed Connors, is writing the book, and he's looking for a publisher right now. But yeah, it's called The Three Muscleteers.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just some, there's good stories and there's bad stories with just like the people who had passed and some people who met their fate in a bad way, and it's just some great stories there.
Remember Jeep Swenson? Remember Jeep?
Oh, of course.
That was the Heartbreak Ridge guy?
No, that was Pete. You remember Pete who played Swede? What was his last name? I can't. He was in Heartbreak.
Pete Koch.
Pete Koch, that's right.
Yeah.
Great guy.
He worked for us too.
Yes. Pete was
and I
great.
had no idea he played pro football.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. For the
I
Raiders.
had no idea after I knew him for a while that he was Swede because he told me he was Swede in Heartbreak Ridge. I'm like, no, Swede's huge.
Yeah.
He's like, that was me. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Guy was tall and thin. Great guy.
He played for the Raiders too.
Really? Pete Koch.
Wow.
Who was the guy that I mentioned that you asked that you... Oh, Jeep Swenson. So Jeep was Bane in Batman.
Yeah. Big green guy.
And Jeep, I remember Jeep came into the gym one night. He walked from the handicap spot to the front desk, which is literally 20 feet. And he was winded and had to stop for 20 minutes talking. He was like, I'm like, Jeep, what are you doing? He's like, I got to catch my breath. Then he walked to the dumbbell racks and incline press 200-pound dumbbells for like 10 reps. And I think he did that like 3 or 4 sets and then left and did not look well. And that was the last time I saw him. And we were like, he's not well. But he
was 400 pounds.
Oh, he was a great, great guy too.
Yeah.
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 And I thought Erin was nice, his wife.
Yes, Erin. Yep.
But Jeep was a sweet, sweet guy. He was also in a movie with Jimmy Kahn. They did a movie called what was it? Adam Sandler was in it.
Can't think of it.
Oh, was that the Jack and Jill one? No.
No. This is not a comedy.
I
This
know.
is before Adam Sandler had it was Jeep Swenson. He played the Jimmy Kahn. Something
Bulletproof.
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 That was it.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that.
Oh yeah. Jeep had a
And he had 40 lions in Texas.
He what?
He had 40 lions as pets in Texas.
He did?
Yeah.
That happened.
And Jeep has been at that gym for a long time. You can go like the pictures. Remember the old pictures of Gold's Gym on the wall?
Yeah.
Jeep was always in those pictures. Always remind me of like the end of The Shining when you look at the Overlook Hotel and there's the picture of Jack Nicholson from like 1912. It's like here's Jeep in 1912, and I think and who else was in that picture too? Was a young Ken Keene.
Yeah.
A very young and scary Ken Keene.
Yeah.
Ken Keene. There's a guy who Ken Keene used to always say to me, Dave, get in there and lay on the clay. Then you chisel it down. But lay on the clay. I used to laugh. We took him out for his birthday one year to a strip club, the Wild Goose. And Jeep goes to the bathroom and we call this stripper over and we're like, hey, it's his birthday. Give him a couple of dances. We got it. And we paid her right then. And so the girl comes over, gives him a dance. And at the end, he's like yelling at her, don't you want my money? I'm like, Jeep, I'm like, Kent, we paid for it already. What? I'm like, it's your birthday. We got it. Oh, I thought she liked me. We were like,
oh man.
Meanwhile, at the time he was 70.
Oh yeah.
And he used to sit there and talk about his roommate and be like, you have a roommate? Yeah, she's like 85. I was like, what would I do to be a fly on that wall? Are you kidding? I just love to sit in one. I'd like to just sit in on one conversation while they're both drinking coffee.
Oh.
The two of them. Unreal. All right, guys, listen, we're going to call it a show. I want to thank Tim Kimber for coming on.
Thank you.
Tim, and people can, you're selling anything these days? You want to plug something?
No.
All right.
I'm
Tim
good.
says you can go pound sand. Doesn't care.
Go pump iron.
There you go, pump
You can
iron.
plug Gold's Gym, right?
Yeah.
Open up your shirt.
Yeah.
So you can.
Anyways, if you have any,
Still ripped.
yeah. He's lean. He's in good shape.
Yeah.
Good shape.
And from what you're in your 60s. You look good for your 60s, man.
Did he tell you that?
68?
Wow.
68?
Guns.
Crazy how fast time goes.
Holy gorilla shit, Batman.
Yeah, you're born in 53, right?
53, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
I remember there was a time you look at a 68-year-old in the 70s and look like they were ready to, keel out of the retirement home. Now, I mean, I know if it's genetics or the preservatives in foods or whatever, but I mean, people just look better at their
Cleaner
ages
living.
nowadays.
Yeah, just cleaner living. You guys are doing it.
Yeah, it's like, look at me, I'm 53. It's like, I tell you, during my father's generation.
Well, I mean, the hair dye you're using works.
Well, it's not even real hair. It's a system.
Did you ever listen, by the way, Tim, did you ever listen to Phil Hendry on the radio at KFI?
No.
He was a radio host and he used to have guests on and they were like the most ridiculous things going on, but people didn't realize he was the voice of the guest. So he's like arguing with himself and people will call in and scream.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, it was unbelievable. But he had a guy that was suing somebody because they said that he was wearing a wig. And Phil Hendry was like, as himself says to him, but you are. Why would you sue him? He goes, I didn't pay 10 grand for somebody to call it a wig. It's a hair system.
Shit.
A hair system.
It's a hair. So that's why he was suing, not because the guy called him out for wearing a wig, but for calling it a wig after he already had spent 10 grand on it. It's a great bit. And you can see it online. You can go to Phil Hendry online and you can still listen to his shows. Yeah, Hendrie. It's really funny. Richard DeFalco says, great show tonight. Thanks to Joe, Krelba, Tim, and me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone have a great night. We're going to say goodbye. Joe, you want to say anything before we go? Let me just say one more time, Joe, happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Because it's really your birthday weekend. Let's be real.
Yeah. It was Friday, but it was all right. It was good. But now you guys got me thinking we got to license and make action figures out of the Barbarian Brothers, because now everything's an action figure. We make a killing.
Oh, yeah. We got to wait for Peter.
Comeback.
Well, I don't know if Peter would even know it exists.
Oh, there's everyone out there with nostalgia.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying Peter would want control of the company.
Yeah.
You have to wait till he has to. Oh. Actually, he might be out of the country. I don't know. I love Pete. Crazy as he is, and Pete, if you're watching, you know you're shit crazy. No,
come on the show.
Yeah, well, he would come on. He would come on.
Yeah,
we're not having him. No, we're not doing it. I don't want to hear about the light. And 2 hours of his poetry.
Oh God!
Oh my gosh!
Maybe that's what was in the back seat.
You know, claim to fame to me was. You remember in Dumb and Dumber when he goes, "You want to hear the most obnoxious sound in the world?" Peter and David claim that's their noise that the Farrelly brothers were referencing, which makes sense because they're all from Rhode Island.
Oh my God!
They did do that foghorn through the gym all the time. Yeah,
all the time for years. They would go, "Oh!" They make that noise and scream.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's true, but I do say they claim it.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Listen, we're gonna call it a night. Let me get the outro show for the ready.
Hit the 3 hour mark. It's not.
We've
better than that.
We've hit 3 hours, and we got the guests to stay on the whole 3 hours, which only happened once before.
No pun intended. He's pumped.
Yeah,
and that was last week, right?
No, last week was
Scott.
It was last week.
No, Scott.
No. It's happened twice before because Scott stayed on the whole show.
Santana did too.
And Santana did. Anne Marie was smart. She was like,
"I'm out." Smart. She bailed.
She's like, I got a chicken pot pie in the oven that's more interesting than you idiots. She didn't say that, but she was
I got
great.
this guy Joe asking me for 8x10s.
Yeah. Joe did ask him for an 8x10 glossy. Here's what's funny.
I want one.
So Anne Marie Howard is the actress name. She goes by Anne. But anyways, I had met her at West LA, and she started taking guitar lessons from me. And so, over the years, we've been friends on Facebook, and she'll ask me a question here and there about a guitar or something, whatever. So we were talking, we had a Halloween show, and we were talking about the movie The Prince of Darkness from the 80s, which I've never seen.
We were talking about favorite horror movies. So I said,
one of his favorites.
The Prince of Darkness. And he had never seen it. I said, how did you never see it? It's fucking awesome. You got, it's John.
I'm a horror movie fan.
Right?
And I never saw it.
And he never saw it. And Crowbar never saw it.
And so I ended up watching it. Yeah.
And I'm a John Carpenter to this movie. Go ahead. Now you pick up Dave. So I'm
watching it. I'm like, oh, that girl looks familiar. Like, why do I know that girl in the movie? So I went to the IMDb. I'm like, oh, it's Ian, my student. So I reached out to her. I'm like, you got to come on the show. Joe loves this movie. She was like, absolutely.
The minute I entered the back studio, like we were in earlier tonight, and I see her, I'm speechless because she's as beautiful today as she was in that movie.
That was great.
Joe's a fan.
And so the whole show, he's asking her for 8x10 glossies.
Not the whole show. I asked at the end.
No, it was
like
every 5 minutes.
Small wallet, the wallet picture. When you're in school, you have the 8x10s, and you have the wallet ones.
Shit.
Who would you give that to? You ever see that, like when kids come home from school and they have like the 8x10 glossy, and then they have the 4x6s, and then they have like the two rows of wallet pick. Like, other than your parents, who else is carrying that picture of you? Oh, do you want to see my friend's kid? I keep it in my wallet.
Well, Grandma always got one by default, because if Grandma didn't get one, there'd be a riot.
Yeah.
There was always leftovers in the drawer.
Always.
It's like
they're going to keep the picture of the grandma. Let me show you my grandchild. Hold on, let me go through my purse. No, that's a coffee
as
nip.
A coaster.
Yeah. That's a coffee nip. That's a piece of juicy fruit gum. This is a root beer barrel.
Piece of lint.
Here's a piece of butterscotch candy. Wait, this photo's in here somewhere. Here's another piece of juicy fruit. Am I the only one that's grandmother had that was what their purse was just juicy fruit gum?
Love juicy fruit.
Juicy fruit was the bomb.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my grandmother's purse, you opened it up, all you could smell was juicy fruit gum, coffee nips, butterscotch candies, and root beer barrels. It was like,
sound bad.
no, it was actually pretty good. But but that's what the purse smelled like.
I could think of worse things.
There's pictures in here somewhere. Hold on. Here's another piece of juicy fruit. Juicy fruit was great gum, but it only lasted 10 seconds.
10 seconds, yeah.
The second, 10 seconds. Anyways, guys, I'm going to be eating a bar in about 2 minutes as soon as we're done here, but I'm eating this Gatorade bar.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a little plug.
I enjoy these bars. They're like Rice Krispies.
Enjoy it. Next Friday night, midnight, I'll join you.
All right. All
There
right.
it
Let's
is.
see what's going on here. All right, guys. Everyone, listen, very good. Tim, thanks so much again. Joe,
Thank you.
happy birthday. Krellbar, good seeing you today. Good. We enjoyed a good cigar today. We had an El Rey del Mundo Flor de la Neza. That was a good cigar. And I'll see everybody here next week.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Good night. Tim, it was a
Catch
pleasure.
you
to
later,
meet
Tim.
you.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah. Good night, everyone.
Nice meeting you.
Very good.
Okay, goodbye, Ted.
Goodbye.